customer service rep, Christine Hurst, is suing her ex-boyfriend, security guard Clinton Burton Jr., for assaulting her and destroying her cell phone. Clinton says Christine is a con artist.
Order. Yes, this is case number 319 on the calendar, the matter of Hurst versus Burton.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Hurst, according to what I've read in your complaint, you and the defendant met a little over a year ago through a dating service.
Yes.
And you started to date, and then the relationship cooled off a bit. Recently, during this past summer, you decided to rejuvenate the relationship, and you contacted the defendant and began a series of telephone communications that ultimately led to some casual dating.
Yes.
So far, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then there was an evening in July, September? When was it?
September 13th.
That something happened that you're going to tell me about, because it is your claim that he assaulted you and broke a piece of your property at an evening that was supposed to be a pleasant evening at his home. Mr. Burton said he did no such thing. So why don't you tell me how the evening started?
September 13th, he was calling me. He was telling me he called out throughout the day, saying, "Why don't you come on over, come on over?" And I was hesitant. I said, okay. I waited later in the day, and then I told him, I said, you know what, okay, I'll come.
How many times had you called her that day, sir?
Your Honor, I only called her like one time, and she called me. I didn't call her.
Okay, so you called him back and said what?
About the fourth or fifth time he called, I finally said, okay, I'm going to go get some movies. I'm going to go get some, house wine. And then we had a nice dinner that day.
What time did you get there?
I would say about 5:30.
And you drank wine?
We both drank some wine, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And then just out of nowhere, at the end of the dinner, he came out with some kind of game playing, saying, well, I did this and I did this through the relationship.
I did this. What did he say?
He put up all the financial, as far as dating, when a man is going to go ahead and take you out to eat and stuff, they go ahead and, they pay for the eating and all. So he was bringing all that up. And then when I started getting ready to say, well, I did this and I did that, he started covering my mouth, but in a joking manner, playing manner. And then it turned out to where he wanted to get some wine. Well, he didn't have any money, so he was gathering some receipts and the purchase that he had purchased a while back, whatever it was. And then he was asking for my bus pass. So then at that time, I told him no. I said, I don't want to, I'm not, you don't trust me. You don't trust me. That's what he's coming out saying. And I'm like, okay. I'm hoping that the conversation will end. Just out of nowhere, he comes out and he says, you got to go.
Okay, so what happened?
I left. I tried to pack up everything. He got mad when I was trying to get everything gathered up. I wasn't saying anything to him. I did say, do you have the rest of the money that you owe me so I could take the cab home? And then sure enough, he got madder and started pushing me, shoving me with his chest at me. And then as I was gathering everything, that's when he pushed me against the wall, and the wall cracked behind me in the dining room, yes. And then I stepped back after I got pushed, and I waited for him. He just kept calling B word to me with a disgusting look, scary look, I might add, and just kept saying it. Yes, I was really frightened, and I just stepped out, and I'm against the wall, and that's when he pushed me again, trying to take my cell phone. The second time, he got it, and then he threw it as I was trying to call the police.
What'd you call the police for?
Because of the abuse that he was doing. He was pushing me and hurting me. He didn't have no right to put his hands on me at all.
Okay, and I'm waiting for you. Let's hear.
First of all, Your Honor, everything she just said, she's lying.
Shh. Just tell me your version of the events, Mr. Burton.
Your Honor, she called me on a Saturday. She said she was preparing a roast and a dinner. And I said, won't you bring everything over to my house, and then I'll finish preparing it, and then, we can have dinner over my house. So she came over my house, and I finished preparing the meal, and then she asked me to pour her a glass of wine. I poured her a glass of wine. Then all of a sudden, she started acting funny because I think she takes sight meds or something, because you can't drink on sight meds. But anyway, Your Honor, she just started talking, ramming on the top of her head. Just started acting crazy.
Like what?
I mean, started talking. She didn't make no sense whatsoever. Like, you a punk, you this, you ain't a man, you this and you that. And she kept talking loud. It was 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I told her, stop talking loud in my house because you disturbing my neighbors. And she kept talking loud. And then I walked over to her and put my hand over her mouth. This is the physical abuse she was saying. So I said, maybe if I just walk away from her, maybe she'll stop. And so I went into the restroom, Your Honor, you know, and I went in the restroom and used the restroom and washed my hand. I heard a scream. And so I came back out, and Your Honor, she told me, I said, what are you screaming for? She told me she had saw a leprechaun run through the living room. I went over there, I said, you got to go. So she went over there and got her stuff. And she kept saying, hit me, hit me. She was doing that, hit me, hit me, hit me. You know, hit me, hit me, hit me. I didn't know what was going on, Your Honor. I thought she was finna turn into a chicken or something. Then she started yelling, rape. And I ran to my bedroom and got my shoes. I said, you got to go. You got to get out of my house. And she started yelling rape outside, so I grabbed the cell phone and I threw it in the bushes. Because, you know, I'm not finna get set up for something I didn't do.
And you say in your answer, sir, that you called her on the cell phone the next day.
Okay, I had got her out of my house. She called me about 5 minutes later from a payphone. She said, Clint, she said, I can't find my cell phone. I need a way home. Could you please help me get a way home and help me find my cell phone? Your Honor, I watch cops. You know, I know there's no way that she was going to get me outside. I know the cops was already outside. So what I did, I cut off all my lights and everything and went to bed. When I went to bed, next thing you know, the cops was outside my window, bright light, and banging on the door. The next day,
So you didn't answer the door?
Huh? No, I never answered the door because she wasn't finished set me up for something I didn't do. So, Your Honor, the next day I put star 67. That's blocking the number out, and called her cell phone, and she answered the cell phone. So that let me know that she found the cell phone. Not only this, Your Honor, this young lady is on at least three or four chat lines and the internet. This lady is looking for victims on the chat lines and the internet to sue.
Gosh.
She done told me about at least 3 lawsuits she done had.
Okay. Now, Ms. Hurst, you called the police?
I did call the police after
Did you
trying.
file a report?
Yes, I did.
Can I see a copy of the report?
It's all the lies she done told.
Did I let you speak? Was I polite to you?
Yes, you were.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't understand. How can I make a call her on that cell phone if it's in pieces like that?
Do I look like a telephone technician to you?
And later today,
I guarantee you that when you're working from 10 to 6, he's fooling around. Guaranteed! And just like he made a fool out of her, he's gonna make a fool out of you.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christine Hurst says ex-boyfriend Clinton Burton Jr. assaulted her and destroyed her cell phone. Clinton says Christine is a con artist.
Miss Hurst, police note the presence of alcohol when they saw you.
I let them know that we were drinking 2 to 3 glasses of house wine that I had brought over to his house.
It's about 10 glasses.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. How many bottles of wine did she bring over?
She brought
He
a
is the
big
one that
jug
wanted-
of. She bought a big jug of St. Carlos wine, and the whole jug was finished.
Okay. You drank a lot
We
that
drank.
evening.
No, we didn't. We drank 2 or 3, and as the police report says, I was very calm.
You
telling
gotta be
the whole
calm and lie.
situation. No, you're doing a lot of lying.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Hurst?
I don't. Customer service, cashiering.
She worked for the devil.
Mr. Burton, you don't want to lose this case. So far, you're not losing. You want to lose?
No, ma'am.
Then you have to not speak to her again. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you get any sort of Social Security?
I don't get any of that, no.
Are you currently under the care of a psychiatrist?
No.
Do you currently take any medication?
No.
Okay. Mr. Burton, the police indicated that they found the cell phone that you had thrown out of your house.
Yes.
And they found it, and it was, in fact, broken. Is that the cell phone?
Yes, it is.
Can I see it, please?
Sure. And here's the receipt that I just purchased with it, too. Did
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. if that cell phone in pieces like that, how did I star 67 her number and made a phone call and she picked it up?
Mr. Burton,
Is that broken?
Mr. Burton, listen to me, sir. Clearly, I mean, if I were to recap this evening, you both were probably feeling pretty fine because you'd both had a little bit to drink. She may have had a worse reaction to the alcohol than you. I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't think that you injured her because she refused any medical treatment, and the police really don't indicate that there were any injuries other than a little scratch under her nose that I don't know how she got, because according to her, you just pushed her. But you do acknowledge, Mr. Burton, that you took her cell phone
And threw it.
and threw it. And the police, in their report, indicate that they found the cell phone in pieces. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, so you have to pay for the cell phone. The cell phone was $180.
But what I'm saying, I don't understand. How can I make a call her on that cell phone if it's in pieces like that? She done broke it the rest of the way.
Can I ask you a question, Mr.
Yes,
Burton?
ask me a question.
Do I look like a telephone technician to you? How do I...
I don't know.
How the heck do I know how you made a phone call to her? The police said the cell phone was broken. You have to pay for the new cell phone. You don't have to pay $5,000, which is what she's looking for.
Okay.
But $180 is what she paid for the phone. $180 is what you're going to pay her. Judgment for the plaintiff, $180. Don't drink if you can't hold your liquor, Miss Hurst.
No,
That's all.
I wasn't
That's
drunk.
it.
Why is that
Goodbye.
excused? You may step out.
Ever drink. Crazy lady.
He's the one on Prozac. He's the one he's on the one who has disability. I don't.
She's a total liar. She's on psych meds, and she knows she is. She get SSI, and she's crazy.
Maybe the Prozac turned him that way. I don't know.
Every time she drinks, she have obnoxious lies and steals out of my house.
All he did in the long run is just take advantage and made a spectacle out of himself, really, not for me.
If any mental hospital know this young lady, please come and get her, because she's on the loose.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Eberhardt. Step forward, please.
23-year-old factory worker Antoinette Jones is suing her ex-boyfriend's current girlfriend, homemaker LaTwana Eberhardt, for torching her car. LaTwana says it wasn't her.
This is the boyfriend.
Yeah,
Your current boyfriend. How many children do you have with him?
2,
How old are they?
5 and 1.
And how many years were you together?
Since I was in the 11th grade, that was 97.
And you had one child with him?
Yes.
And then he was such a good father, you went and had another one with him.
I guess so, yes.
Do you? Nah. Even you had a laugh when I said that, right?
Yes.
Does he have a job?
Not at this, at this moment, yes, he should have one.
What is his regular occupation?
Construction.
So he works on and off.
Yes.
And how much does he give you every week for the support of your 2 children?
Nothing.
A big, fat...
0.
Miss Eberhardt.
Yes.
How long has Sir Lancelot been your boyfriend?
Well, it's be 2 years. We've been off and on since '96.
Off and on, so that you were off and on together. But didn't know about it, I assume.
That's correct.
Did you know he had 2 children when you were on and off with him?
I knew about 1.
I just wanted to get a little background because I read your case, and your case says that the defendant torched your car and destroyed it. She says she didn't do it. When was your car torched?
On May 18th,
And what makes you think that the defendant did it?
because we had confrontation between each other the same night.
What kind of confrontation?
We went to a formal friend party. I don't understand why he invited both of us.
Why, this other friend invited both of you?
Yeah.
What, because he's stupid?
So I didn't know she was coming. I guess she didn't know I was coming. Till it goes into the bathroom. She decides she gonna come too into the bathroom. So I told the friend, if she does come.
So you had a confrontation at this. So there's a little pushing and shoving, according to what I read.
No, we had no words. We just bumped shoulders.
Bump shoulder.
Right.
Fine. And that's what makes you think that she torched your car?
No, she had a little liquor, little friends,
Okay.
and a
Do you
little
have
courage.
let me put it to you this way, Miss Jones. Do you have any proof that she torched your car?
Only Jason's mother notarized statement. That's all I do have.
I don't read statements.
I know, but she had to stay home. It has details telling that Tawana smelled like gasoline.
Smelling from gasoline is some evidence, but even smelling from gasoline doesn't prove that you torched your car.
I mean, we had confrontation before then. We face to face, almost fist fighting. So she didn't like me from the get-go. So it was an easy alibi for her to
You don't
come.
want me to start on you, do you? You don't want me to start on you, do you? You know how he cheated on her and he's got 2 children with her?
Yeah.
Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at dry cleaners.
You work 5 days a week?
Yes.
Why do you have to think about that? If I said to somebody, do you work 5 days a week, they wouldn't have to think about it. Do you work 5 days a week?
5 days a week.
Okay. You work 9 to 5?
10 to 6.
And you live with Sir Lancelot,
Yes.
who is employed on and off in construction. Is that right?
Yes.
I guarantee you that when you're working from 10 to 6, he's fooling around. Guaranteed! And just like he made a fool out of her, he's going to make a fool out of you. And in a year or 2 or 3, you're going to be standing in a similar situation that she's standing in now. I don't know whether you torched her car or not. She doesn't have any proof that you torched her car, but I'm telling this to the 2 of you. The only thing that makes you look more foolish than devoting the best years of your life to a loser who doesn't pay child support, who cheats on you, who doesn't work regularly, is to be angry at each other. What are you angry at each other for? It's stupid. It's stupid. He's the bad guy. You're just, both of you are just dumb. Hang around him. Don't you understand that a man who fathers 2 children who he doesn't support is a loser?
But he does
Loser.
support his children.
Loser. Really? How
Tell
much
her
did
when
he
the
send?
last time he seen his kids.
I don't care when he saw them.
Last
not-
time he took care of them.
When was the last time he sent them money?
He doesn't send them money, but he buys them things. He doesn't send money to her.
Let me,
No.
just
They
a
have-
second. Just a second. That's what he's supposed to do. Send money to the custodian of his children so that she can pay rent, food, insurance, medical care, shoes. Do you understand? That's what he's supposed to do. He's not supposed to buy Pampers and soy milk and say, I support my children. That's bull. Do you understand? Listen, Miss Jones, you don't have the case because you don't have any proof that you torched your car. So I have to dismiss your case. But forget about being mad at each other. That's the one.
I'm not mad at her.
Good, perfect.
Mad at
Happy
him.
to hear.
Not mad at
Happy to
her.
hear that you're all happy with each other.
Now, this is case number 300 on the calendar in the matter of Kamerman versus Beck. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, folks. Have seats.
Mr. Kammerman, it is your claim that the defendants, both father and son, had you falsely arrested. You want to be reimbursed for that false arrest, bail money, attorney's fees, pain and suffering, aggravation, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Beck and Master Beck say that they absolutely were within their rights to have you arrested because you did, in fact, put your hands on one of them and threaten the other. So that's what this case is about. How do you know each other?
I didn't know them prior to this. The way that we came in contact with each other is I was driving my car and going to my house to pick up some tools to do some work on some of my rental properties. And Master Beck was parked blocking the right-of-way.
How was he blocking the right?
He was parked in an alleyway. We live in Newport Beach, which is a very small beach community that has an alleyway to get to the homes.
Okay, so you have to drive through a common alleyway in order to get to all of the homes.
That's true.
Okay. What were you doing there, Stephen?
I was loading my surfboards on top. My car was still on, so I wasn't fully parked. But
Well, the car was stopped, wasn't it?
yeah, I was out standing on my tire. Oh,
When I want a whole story, I'll ask you.
Okay.
Other than that, if you can answer me just the questions, 1 or 2 words will be enough. So the car was, in fact, stopped because you were loading something onto the car.
yes.
So what happened?
First of all, I didn't observe any surfboards. I had motioned to him to move.
Me move and pull out of the driveway.
Yeah, just to get out of the way so I could get to where
Well,
I was
in order
going.
to pull out of the way, he had to go through the alleyway someplace else.
Yes, just pull in front of actually the home that he was in front of at the alleyway. He could have pulled into the street, and there was an area to park that he could have been fine there, or pull back where he wanted to. This is common.
Just a second.
Okay, oh, sorry.
So you could have loaded your surfboards by pulling into where your house was.
Yes.
Okay. So he didn't move.
That's correct.
And what did you do?
I motioned to him to move. He acknowledged I was there and then walked around like, tough luck, I'm going to do as I please. So I thought, okay, I'll get out of the car and approach him. Maybe he'll realize that he needs to move.
I'm bigger than he is.
Yeah, a little bit. So I went up to him. I thought that would do it. That didn't do it. And so I said things like, do you need help to put the key in the ignition so you can turn the car on and move the car? And then his girlfriend started screaming at me.
You're the girlfriend? What was she saying?
She was just screaming, leave him alone. You can't do, just unintelligible things.
Well, what were you doing to him, Mr. Cameraman?
I was actually doing nothing except saying, do you need somebody to show you how to? I was being facetious.
When I ask you to tell me what happened, it's not going to be one of, and then I said, and then he said, and then I said, and then he said, because I don't believe that. Do you understand?
I can understand that, yes, Your Honor.
So, let's backtrack a little bit. You got out of the car after Stephen over here was dissing you.
Yes.
Showing off for his girlfriend.
Exactly.
Because he's a kid.
Yes.
Certainly not doing the right thing, Stephen. When someone pulled up behind you in the car, the right thing to do was to have gotten in the car with your girlfriend and move the car out of the way so that that person could drive through the driveway. Do you understand?
Yeah, I say one thing?
Yeah.
I motioned him just 1 minute, just like you did, 1 minute, so I could buckle it, so I can move it. It takes 30 seconds, and it's no big deal.
Stephen, this whole thing didn't start because of 30 seconds, Stephen. If you live until you're 100, you're not going to be as smart as I am. It's just the way that God crafted you. There's a certain common sense to life. I understand it. I can't do certain things, but there's a certain common sense that I have. I'm not saying that he did the right thing, Mr. Cummins, because he's still going to give me, and then I said, and then he said. But I'm telling you that you did the wrong thing. Now, Mr. Cameraman, let's get back to and then I said. Go ahead.
I was yelling at him and trying to get him to move the car, and I was actually shocked to even know that anybody else was in the car, and then I heard her screaming, leave him alone, and then I realized since she was escalating everything, I decided I'm going to leave this alone and go back to my car. I went back to my car, turned the engine off, locked it, and proceeded to my house. As I got halfway across the street, Mr. Stephen Beck then decided to get into his vehicle and then move his vehicle to the spot that I said that he could move to that would work. So I realized he had done that. Then I went immediately back to my car and moved my car and put it in a legal parking spot near my house. At that point, I figured everything was over. I was loading things into my car. I made comments, they made comments about things. I yelled and said...
You mean that you were yelling at each other?
We were yelling at each other. Across the street, the girlfriend started saying, come on, hit us. We can have you thrown in jail. Come on, hit us. My mom's a lawyer. I can have you thrown in jail. And I said, well, yeah, I know that. I'm not going to touch anybody.
No, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so that was a lie as well. I went back into my house, came back out, and they had called the police. And Stephen had made up a wild story that I had choked him and smashed him against the car.
Okay, so, and that's why you were arrested. You have a copy of the complaint?
Yes.
May I see it, please?
Yes.
Oh, bird, there, that pesky fly that comes out here every once in a while, it's back. You sit down, Tony, for a second. Come up here. What's your name?
My name? Michelle Sabaris.
Michelle. Okay, Michelle, what did you see?
I saw this gentleman, or Stephen was putting his surfboards on top. He was standing on his tire, buckling his boards. Brett came around through the alley, drove in, parked right behind, and honked his horn. And Stephen gestured him 1 second, and then right away, I see him because I'm looking back out of the back. I'm in the passenger seat. He starts getting furious in his car. What I saw a gesture of the finger. Then he gets out of the car immediately, comes right up to Stephen, and their size is different, and I see he comes up to him viciously and goes like this.
Doesn't hit him.
Doesn't hit him, not right then. Next thing I know, I see Stephen against the back, the side of the door, the back door, and Brett is had his hands on his neck. And then he opened the door, tried pushing him in the car, was trying to get him so he could move his car. And then from there on,
and you're sitting in the passenger seat all this time?
Yes, and I'm in the passenger seat, and when I see him put his hands on his neck, that's when I start yelling, yes. And I got scared, and he wasn't a minor, but what I yelled, because I thought he was going to beat him up, I yelled, "Get your hands off him, he's a minor."
You mean if he was older, it would have been okay?
Well, no, but their size is considerable, and you know.
He's always going to be that size, right?
Right.
Probably.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't believe you, because that's my job, because I've been doing this job for a very long time, because you're his mother, and I don't believe you. Do you understand?
No.
Well, I'm sorry, I explained it as best as I can. Mull it over for a while, maybe you'll get it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brett Kammerman says he was falsely arrested when Stephen Beck accused him of assault. Stephen says that during an argument, Brett choked him.
Anybody else witnessed this? Who are you?
I'm Patty Kammerman. I'm Brett's mother.
Where were you when this happened?
I was waiting across the street for Brett to come and pick up tools. And I never saw Brett touch him, push him, or
Well, what
do
did you
any of those
see?
things. I saw just what Brett had said, that he talked to him and he yelled at him, and everybody was very loud and yelling. And Brett went like this and got back in his car, turned the car off, came across the street.
And when you saw all of that, when you saw all of that yelling and all of that gesturing, did you stay in your house?
No, I wasn't in the house.
You just waited?
I was outside.
Did
waiting.
you come across the street to where they were?
No, I was.
Why not?
Because I didn't know what was going on. And I was just standing there.
Well, you're his mother. Maybe he was going to be in trouble. Maybe somebody's going to take the gun and hurt him.
No,
What?
I knew that there was no problem. This happens dozens of times during the summer, where somebody blocks the driveway, somebody else yells, everybody moves out of the way, and it's over with.
Have a seat, Ms. Cameron.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Your Honor, she was inside the house at the time. She was not outside. I made sure of that because I looked for witnesses
There's nobody present.
to witness it. I wanted witnesses.
Okay, your mother saw nothing. I don't believe her. I don't believe her. Okay, so then the police came and you were arrested. Even she knows she's not telling me the truth. Then the police came and you were arrested?
Yes.
Now, what happened with Tony Beck? Stand up, Mr. Beck. Go ahead. And by the way, if there are no other witnesses, what are all you people doing here?
They're my character witnesses.
I don't need the character witnesses. I've determined you're a character. Go ahead.
After I was bailed out of jail, I went to Becky and Donnie's house.
Who's Becky and Donnie?
Becky and Donnie are neighbors of mine.
Raise Becky and Donnie. And Becky and Donnie here?
My grandchildren.
Your grandchildren?
My brother-in-law and sister-in-law.
Okay.
And I talked with them, and they have bad blood on this side of the family. And they said, you know, if you would, please leave us out of it. We don't want to have to come to court. We already don't get along with them. And the dad, it's a situation where they didn't want to be involved, and so I didn't involve them.
You went down to talk to them. After you talked to them, what happened with Tony?
While I was talking to Becky, some man came running through the house and confronted me and said, "Keep your hands off my son." And I said, you know, you really should get your facts straight. Your son's lying to people about this. I didn't do anything, and I don't even know why I was taken to jail.
Okay. So nothing, according to you, nothing happened with Tony?
Exactly.
Okay.
But then Tony filed a temporary restraining order against me, lying to the authorities, saying that I had threatened him.
Not lying.
Now, why don't you tell me your version,
Thank you,
Mr.
Your
Beck,
Honor.
of the events?
I came through the house and I was off because the confrontation he had with my son. And the words I used when I came up to him is I said, "Why are you manhandling my son?" And he asked, who are you? And Becky says, "He's the father of Stephen." He said, "Get out of here. I don't like you. Get out of here." So Becky asked me to leave. I left. As I was leaving, as far as his taunting, when I was leaving, just his character, he says, "What's your name?" I says, "Don knows my name." And he says, "Oh, don't even know your own name?" And this is the same type of antics that he used with the other kids in the neighborhood as far as taunting them.
Mr. Beck.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you file an application for a restraining order against
the
him?
restraining order was
what
filed.
I'm asking you, sir.
The restraining order was filed due to a phone call that he made to my father-in-law. He said he had the intentions
Just a second. Did you make a phone call to his father-in-law?
His father-in-law and I were very good friends. We both are real estate investors. We'd been friends for a long time. I wanted to call him and let him know that whatever stories are going around weren't...
Just a second. Do you have an affidavit from your relative?
Yes, ma'am. This is the report that my relative went down to the police
I'd like to see what the affidavit says from your relative, because that formed the basis of your application for a protective order. Well, I'd like to see it. This is the statement that is attributed to you, that the victim, whoever your relative is, came to the police front desk to report an annoying phone call he had received. The victim states that on this 20th of July, 2002, his grandson was battered by the suspect cameraman. The victim states that on the same day at approximately 16:30 hours, he received a call from Mr. Cameraman who said, "This is Brett. I know you know I am a martial arts expert. And just to let you know, I intend to sue the Beck family for false arrest. I want to assure you that to your grandchildren, I represent no harm or threat." That is the conversation that is attributed to you.
It's partially true.
Just a minute, what do you want?
I wanted to tell you that I was listening to the phone call.
I don't believe a word you say.
Why not?
Because I don't believe a word you say. I don't believe that you either went out and saw what was happening from outside your house, madam, or that you heard this conversation. I don't believe you. Because that's my job. Because I've been doing this job for a very long time. Because you're his mother, and I don't believe you. I don't believe that he is telling me exactly what happened with this young man. I believe that this gentleman so far had no cause to file for a restraining order against him. No cause. He had no cause. That's clear. But I don't believe your version of the events with Stephen. And therefore, I don't believe you saw what you say you saw. Do you understand?
No.
Well, I'm sorry. I explained it as best as I can. Mull it over for a while. Maybe you'll get it. My question to you, Mr. Cameraman, is what happened during this case when it was in court?
The situation that occurred is I was starting a new corporation.
Don't give me a whole story, Mr. Cameraman. I don't want to hear a whole story about you didn't want this whole thing to drag on.
That's the story. That's what I was going to tell you. If that's something...
Listen, how come I read your mind?
Well, it was a donation that I made to it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I've been here a long time, sir. I've been doing this job for a long time. What happened with the case, Mr. Cameraman?
I was told it takes a while for this to go, that there are going to be 4 or 5 pretrial hearings.
And?
And I told my attorney that I was tired of this, that it didn't happen, that they are lying, and it's not fair that I have to deal with this for so long. Can you get it taken care of more quickly?
Mm-hmm.
And so they
your
said,
attorney said to you, I can take care of it more quickly. This is what you're going to have to do.
If you make a donation to the Emergency Victims Fund, then they will let it go, because we have to give something to the DA so he feels like he won. And so at that time, I listened to the attorney and made the donation.
That was a mistake,
It was a mistake.
Because
and at the time I asked
him... Because a $1,000 donation, whatever it is, whether it's in the form of restitution, whether it's in the form of... Listen, I'm not going to be able to successfully meet these charges, and I just want the whole thing over. Whether it's in the form of, I'm too busy to continue with this, someone who feels as if they have been wrongly arrested, forced to post bail, handcuffed, et cetera, does not make a donation of $1,000 to make the charges go away, which is what you did. So you have no case.
Well, I agree with you on that. That's
you have
why
no case. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. So what do you want me to do? You made a mistake.
Okay, well, at the time, I had never been in a criminal situation. I listened to the criminal attorney. I will call him.
What do you want me to do, Mr. Cameraman?
I'm telling you what the situation is, and what I'm asking you to do is that
You're an intelligent man, Mr. Cameraman.
Thank you.
You are an intelligent man. An intelligent man knows that when you pay money into the criminal justice system, it is almost a signal, at least it is some indication, that you feel as if you are in some way wrong. That's the way it's interpreted, Mr.
I can understand
Cameraman.
your interpretation.
That's the way it's interpreted,
However, that's
sir.
not the case. And that's why I brought character witnesses.
I'm not interested in your character witnesses, sir. And I don't believe your mother. I believe that you overreacted to this young man, and I do believe that you put your hands on him. I don't believe that you hit him.
You believe that I put my hands on him?
Yes. I don't believe that you hit him. I don't believe that you hurt him. I believe that you lost your temper when he didn't move that car fast enough. And I think he was showing off for his girlfriend.
He was.
And I think that what he was doing was rude and inconsiderate, and he's 19 years old, and you're a lot older, and you should have cooled it, let it pass.
That's what I did.
And you didn't.
I did.
And you didn't. He, of course, had no right to bring you to court for the restraining order because you had no grounds for a restraining order, Tony Beck. You behaved badly, sir. You can't act like a brat. When you act like a brat, things happen. Sometimes you're going to meet up with people who are bigger and stronger, and you can't anticipate what their mental state is going to be, so you have to be respectful of other people's time. You have to be respectful of other people's property. You want to load your car, you don't pull your car unless you absolutely have to in a place that inhibits somebody else from getting by. That's just being respectful. That doesn't give him license to overreact to you, because he could have done exactly what he did 5 minutes later, which is to pull his car into another spot, leave it, and go across the street to get his tools, or at least that's what he was trying to do, to go across the street and get his other tools. Anyway, you have no case, Mr. Cameron. You paid $1,000. $1,000 is some indication of guilt. Goodbye.
Yeah, this is case number 199 on the calendar in the matter of Calderon versus Eagles. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Ms. Calderon, it is your claim that the defendant had your son falsely arrested.
Yes.
And you want all kinds of damages. Ms. Eagles says in her response that your son is a bad influence on her boy. She didn't want him in her home. He violated a direction by the police to stay out of her home. She had an absolute right to have him arrested for trespass because he was told to stay out of her home. That's your defense.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
Which boys are they?
My son Matthew.
Matthew. Step up. And which is your boy?
Devin.
Devin. I'm going to start with you, Miss Eagles.
Okay.
What's wrong with him?
Well, I do not like some of the things that Matthew does.
How do you know about these things?
Because my son has been hanging out with him for quite some time, and I...
Well, tell me about how long they've been hanging out together, and how do you know it's Matthew that's the cause of the trouble?
Well, they've been hanging around each other for, I'm going to say, approximately 4 years, 5 years.
Okay.
And I know that whenever Devin was around him, he would just turn into something that I could not control. He would be obnoxious to me.
You mean your son?
Yes. I knew that Matthew was involved with drugs, and I'm trying to keep my son from being involved in such garbage, and that's why I know.
How did you know that Matthew was involved with drugs?
Well, I know on one occasion, Kevin told me that Matthew had drugs.
Who's Kevin?
Kevin is right here.
Kevin, do you have a last name?
Blair.
Kevin, how do you know these people?
Devin's my friend. That's his mom, and that's Matt and his mom.
Well, I know who the players are.
Yeah.
I asked you how you knew them. Devin is your friend. What about Matthew?
Was my friend.
Did you ever tell Mrs. Eagles that Matthew was using drugs?
Yeah.
When did you tell her that?
I'm not exactly sure when. It was a while ago.
Give me a year. Was it this year?
Yeah, I think it was this year.
I want you to try yes.
Yes.
What kind of drugs did you tell Mrs. Eagles that Matthew was involved with?
Cocaine.
And how did you know that?
Because I've seen him with it before.
Look at me. Because you've seen him with it when?
Previous to that.
Did he sell it?
No, I just seen him with it.
Tell me about the time that you saw him with it. Look at me.
All right. We were...
You don't like my Jack Nicholson? Go ahead.
I don't know. I've seen him with it. I'm not exactly sure when.
Do you use drugs regularly?
No.
Do you use cocaine regularly?
No.
Do you ever use cocaine?
No.
Did you ever try cocaine?
No.
So it was really an unusual occurrence when you saw Matthew with cocaine, right?
Yes.
Then I want you to tell me when it was. Tell me the circumstances, because after you saw him with the cocaine one time, you told Mrs. Eagles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then, think. I want you to put on your thinking cap. Think. Oh, we may have to wait a while.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure when I remember seeing him have it.
I didn't ask you when. I asked you to tell me the story about it. Were you in school? Were you at home? Were you in the street? Were you at a party?
Oh, we were at a party.
Who was at the party?
Matt, me, Devin, a whole bunch of other people.
Fine. And tell me exactly what you saw Matthew do with the cocaine.
I seen him.
Look.
I seen him pull it out and play
How
with
was it packaged?
in a little bag.
He pulled it out of where? His pocket?
Yeah.
And what did he do with it?
He just looked at it. It was never, he didn't like pull it out of the bag or anything.
Did he say anything?
He was like, I got some Coke.
You didn't see him do anything with it?
No.
And then he put it back in his pocket?
Hmm.
And didn't use it during the course of the party?
Well, not that I remember seeing.
Now, when did you tell that to Mrs. Eagles?
I don't know, maybe a month or two.
Mrs. Eagles, tell me what he said to you when he told you about the cocaine.
He told me that he knew for a fact that Matt and another individual had it and that they had given Devin some.
Well, he didn't tell that to me just now.
Well,
he didn't tell that to me just now.
He said that he knew that they did the cocaine New Year's Eve.
It's not what he's saying now.
Well,
sit down. What grade are you in school, Devin?
9th.
Ever been suspended from school?
Yes.
How many times?
Twice.
For what?
Smoking and...
Smoking cigarettes?
Yeah.
In school?
On school grounds.
Close enough. How old are you?
15.
How old were you when you got suspended for smoking?
15.
So it was a recent suspension.
Last year.
So once for smoking last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what did you get?
Fighting.
Fighting. When did you get suspended for fighting? You don't worry, I'm going to get to you in a minute.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Well, last year.
I had, like, in-school suspension because of fighting last year.
And the year before that?
No.
Have you been suspended from school, either an in-school or an out-of-school suspension, more than twice?
I don't think so.
You know what?
I don't think so.
He doesn't think so. Have you ever been arrested?
No.
Did you pass any or all of your subjects last year?
Yes.
How many did you pass?
4.
And how many did you have?
About 8.
So you passed about 50% of your classes last year, is
Well,
that right?
Yep.
What are you doing this summer?
Well, I can't go to summer school.
Why?
Because I skip school too much. I have to repeat the grade.
So you have an attendance problem?
Yeah. Yes.
When you don't go to school, where do you go?
Stayed home.
Does your mother work?
Yes.
What kind of work does she do?
She's a medical transcriptionist.
You have brothers and sisters?
1 brother.
How old is your brother?
18.
Does he live in the home or out of the home?
In.
In the home.
Mhm.
What does he do?
Nothing.
So your mother has 2 children, she works full time, and she's got 2 children who do nothing except make trouble. Is that what you're telling me?
No.
Sure. You stay home from school, you do nothing. You get suspended from school, you do nothing. You pass half of your classes. You got an 18-year-old brother who does nothing.
Well, then, yes.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
On December 31st, I came home from work and I found him in my apartment.
Is that right?
No.
You mean she's lying about finding you in her home?
Yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rayetta Calderon says her son was falsely arrested when Sharon Eagles filed a complaint. Sharon says the boy was trespassing on her property.
Now turning over to this side of the table. How old are you, Matthew?
16.
Your last report card that you got, how many classes did you have?
5.
How many did you pass?
4.
What did you fail?
Math.
Were you in regular attendance in school last year?
Yes.
Ever been arrested?
Yes.
When?
When I was 15.
For what?
Someone had left a stolen bike at my house.
You were arrested because somebody else did something wrong.
Yeah, the case was dismissed, though, because they found...
That doesn't necessarily mean anything, but you're telling me if somebody else did something wrong, they arrested you.
Yes.
And that was your only arrest.
Yes.
Now, this business about cocaine. Have you ever tried cocaine?
No, I have not.
Have you ever touched cocaine?
No, I have not.
Mrs. Eagles doesn't like you. You know that?
Yes.
And I assume you've known that for a long time.
Yes, Sharon.
Did she ever tell you not to come to her house?
Yes, she has.
Before you were arrested, she told you not to come to her house.
Yes.
And she told you not to come to her house before you were arrested. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes, Sharon.
Did you go to her house again?
No, I didn't.
You mean after she told you not to come to her house, you were not in her house again?
Correct.
When did she tell you not to come to her house?
Maybe about a month before I was arrested.
Give me the month.
Early December.
So far, is that correct?
I told him numerous times starting in September, maybe 2 years ago.
All right. But you knew he came to your house, and he came to your house invited by your son.
I did not know that he was going to my home.
Well, he didn't break into your house, madam. He came invited by your son, who was playing hooky from school.
I told him to stay away, and whether Devin let him in, I was at work, I had no way of knowing. But he was not allowed to go to my home at all.
When did you finally call the police?
I went over to the Juvenile Bureau on several occasions.
When did you finally call the police?
Then I finally called them in, I think it was November.
When was he arrested?
He was arrested in January.
Why in January?
Because on December 31st, I came home from work and I found him in my apartment.
Is that right?
No. No.
You mean she's lying about finding you in her home?
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor.
Devin, was Matthew in your home on December 31st?
Yes, he was. My mom came home early from work and caught me, Matt, and Kevin in there. We were at my house.
Is that right?
Before we were gonna.
She says you were there. Her son says you were there. And your old friend Kevin, although he didn't even have to think about it for a minute, says that you were there. And that's why you were arrested for trespass. Because that's your claim. Your claim is that Mrs. Eagles had your son falsely arrested for trespass, and you want to be compensated.
Yes, Your Honor.
She told him to stay out of her home. He went to her home.
Well, he wasn't at her home the day that she said that.
Well, I don't believe that. I don't believe that he wasn't there December 31st. I have 3 people who say that he was there.
Your Honor, I showed up in court 3 appearances with witnesses and documentation at the courtroom. If she had my son arrested for those charges, she should have showed up at the courtroom. She never did.
Showed up is not
But
the
I had
issue. We are
witnesses
not
to
in.
prove my son was not at her home.
I'll hear your witnesses.
I don't have them all with me. I have Michael with me. He did pick my son up at 5 o'clock. I was home from work that day at 3 o'clock. Michael picked my son up from our home at 5 o'clock that evening.
When did you see him at your home?
It was probably about 3:45 or 4 because I distinctly remember I was sick that day and I went home early. They don't expect me home until after 6 or...
So you cannot account for where he was at 4 o'clock, is that right?
He was home with me, Your Honor.
I don't believe that.
That is the truth.
I don't believe it. Listen, this is the problem, Miss Calderon. I believe that your son was told that he was not welcome in her home. If he was told that, and he acknowledges he was told that, he acknowledges that he was told that in early December, which means that any time after early December, he knew that the welcome mat was closed. This is not Devin's home. Devin merely lives there because his mother lets him live there. She owns the space there. Your son was there. I do not believe he wasn't there.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Sure.
Mrs. Eagle's not telling the truth right now, but on many occasions, we've known them for 4 years. My son and her son met in middle school. On many occasions, Mrs. Eagle would tell my son not to come to her house or that she did not want the children hanging out together. Mrs. Eagles would then deliberately bring her son to my house, drop him off for days at a time.
Listen to me. That's okay. You have just acknowledged that she told your son not to come to her house.
Yes.
She could bring him to your house. You could say, I don't want him in my house. But once the owner of the premises says you are no longer welcome in my private residence, that's it. If you go there, you are trespassing. That's what she had him arrested for. But I have to tell you something. Just pay careful attention to me.
Yes.
It takes 2 to tango.
I understand that.
Okay. So that he's not the bad influence. Together, they're not good for each other.
I guess that's a better way of putting it.
Right. Now, as a parent, you say, listen, I got 2 bad kids. They're worse when they're married. So if I separate them, maybe I have a better chance of working with mine. So you have the right as a parent to say, I want to keep them separated. That's why I started with you. I don't want you to think that I believe that he is a bad influence on him. This one doesn't know whether he's a foot or horseback. He told you one story, he told me a different story, okay? But you are entitled to say, in my home, I don't want to see your face. And if you've done it and you've been unsuccessful, then you go to the police and you have him arrested. Period, end of discussion, case over, goodbye.
Eyes are excused, you may step out.
I'm extremely upset that they could just go in there and stand in front of Judge Judy and lie.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, ladies.
You 2 folks are the parents of these 2 young ladies. And you, madam, are suing.
Yes.
her father, because you allege
Yes.
that this young lady assaulted your daughter in school, caused serious injury.
Yes.
You're suing for both medical bills and pain and suffering.
Yes. I have it all with me, Judge.
Neither of you were at the school at this time, is that correct?
No.
No, ma'am.
So you don't know what happened,
No, ma'am, we don't.
right? Other than what your daughters tell you. So then why don't you two folks have a seat? You two ladies step up. Tell me your first name.
My name's Heather.
Heather, can you speak up, please?
Heather.
And tell me what happened.
I knew Becky from junior high when she was in my PE class, and she
Physical education?
Yeah, physical
Okay.
education. And she used to ask me if I was in modeling and stuff, her and her friend, and I was uncomfortable about it, and the principal did talk to her, and she stopped.
So you thought she was bothering you in junior high school?
Yeah.
Okay. That was a while ago.
Yeah. And so my second week of 9th grade year, I was hazed for drill team. And they woke me up on September 13th from my bed and dressed me up as a clown.
Who did?
Drill team.
But she had nothing to do with that.
No, it's getting to the story. She had the PE class right next to drill team with me. And a guy I knew said in the PE class of hers, "She looks cute today, doesn't she?" And she said in reply, "I'm going to kick that Barbie bitch's ass." And went on to tell him.
Did you hear that?
No, he told me.
Okay, you can't tell me what he told you.
Okay. And so I went to second period where she and her friend would bug me about saying, "Heather, shut up, don't talk." And she had pushed me into my chair in art.
How did she push you into your chair?
She walked by when it was cleanup time and pushed me into my chair.
How? Physically did she push you into?
She bumped it, and I told her to knock it off, and she stepped on my foot. And I went to go get up, and she tripped.
She tripped?
She tripped.
And fell?
Mm-hmm. She didn't fall. She
didn't fall?
She didn't fall, but she lost her balance and went back to her seat. And the bell rang, and we all rushed for the door, and I was one of the first people out. And I heard her friend say, "Becky, wait up." And she said, "No, I had to help the Barbie bitch out the door." And I turned around to say...
Who said, "Let's help the Barbie bitch out the door"?
Becky.
Go ahead.
And so I turned around and say, "What?" And she tripped me. And then she proceeded to pick me up and throw me into the wall. And then from there, I said, "What are you doing?" And she just came after me and repeatedly hit me into the wall again. Then took my head and hit me from every direction of my head into the wall. Then she dropped me and I fell on my knees. And I tried to get up, but I was unable to get up because my knees were hurting so bad. And then she picked me up again by my t-shirt and started hitting me to the wall about 20 times, I'd say. And then I remember her dropping me, and she was cussing at me at this time, and I was crying.
What was she saying to you?
She said, "I'm going to kill you, Barbie bitch. I'm going to f you up."
Why does she call you Barbie bitch? Because she thinks that you believe she thinks you look like a Barbie doll?
I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember falling on the ground, because she pushed me on the ground, and she picked me back up again by my head, my hair, started socking my face. Then she tried to headbutt me, and I used my hands to stop her from doing that. She threw me on the ground by my face. I rolled over and tried to get up, but my backpack pushed me down.
You have hospital report?
Yes. Yes.
Could I see the hospital report, please? Okay, Becky. I'd like to hear your version of what happened.
I've known Heather since junior high, but okay, this is the 9th grade, second week of 9th grade.
What happened at junior high? She says that there was a problem.
Words were thrown back and forth, just like when we would change PE, I was made fun of because I was big-chested in junior high. They would all make fun of me when I changed in PE, and but stuff like that, name calling, and it went back and forth, and then it quit because we had to sign a contract.
Who signed a contract?
Both of us did, stated that we would not talk or be around each other. And then I changed my PE class because I wasn't supposed to be around her. They changed my PE class.
So they changed your class?
And they changed my class. And then we were coming out of art, and this is the 9th grade, and we were coming out of art, and I did not push the chair into her. I was on the other side. She was on this side. I was on this side. I was nowhere near her. But we were coming out of art class. I had tripped over her foot. I didn't fall, but I had turned around. She had kicked me in the leg. So I had turned around, and words were shared back and forth. Books were dropped. We were pushing each other back and forth. No heads were hit up against the wall. That I know. We were hitting, and a girl broke it up, and We had our witness, but she didn't come in because she was scared to. But she was...
Don't tell me what your witness was not here was going to tell me. Becky, were you suspended from school?
I was kicked out of school.
As a result of this incident?
As a result of this incident.
Did you ever go back to the school after you were kicked out? Did you ever go to the area of the school? Look at me. Did you ever go to the area of the school after you were kicked out?
No, I did not. No, yeah, I did the one time with my friend Heather to go pick up her sister from school with her mom. And that was the only time.
Uh-huh. Did you ever call her Barbie something?
Oh, when we were in high school, junior high. Barbie.
What about when you were in the 9th grade?
No, there was no name calling. I quit doing that because I got in trouble for it. I got yelled at it and stuff like that, and I didn't do that after that.
Why did you call her this name when you were in junior high,
Oh, it wasn't just me. It was,
I'm not interested in anybody else, Becky. I'm just interested in you. Why did you call her, she says you called her Barbie bitch.
No, I didn't.
Why did you use the term Barbie in referring to her at all?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Oh, sure you do.
It was just a name.
Well, it means something, Becky.
Probably because she's got long blonde hair.
And it wasn't said nicely. It wasn't said, you know, gee, you look so sweet, you look terrific, you look like a Barbie doll. Right?
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is the only fight my child's been in years. I can't see where it's anything criminal.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lucille Meyer says her 15-year-old daughter, Heather, suffered severe injuries when George Grumsh's daughter, Rebecca, assaulted her in school. Rebecca says she didn't start it.
Did you have a school suspension hearing, Becky?
I don't think so.
Well, when they transferred you to another school.
I was just out of the school, and then
what do you mean
I went
you were
to Tennessee. I went to Tennessee after the fight and stuff. And I went to school out there.
Just a second. What day of the week was this fight?
Oh, God. I don't remember.
Friday.
Friday. When did you go to Tennessee?
Like 2 weeks later.
Did you go to school for those 2 weeks?
No.
Why not?
Because I really, honestly, I don't know. Because I got kicked out of school. I was expelled from the schools, from that school.
Step up, sir. I'm going to ask you some very important questions. Just listen. Does she live with you?
Yes.
Did you get a call from the school?
About the fight, yes.
Were you told to come to school with your daughter?
Yeah, I met with the assistant principal.
Okay. And that was after the fight?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened as a result of that meeting?
I sent her to go visit her mother for a couple weeks because she was pretty distraught. She was hurting. So I sent her to her mother's for a couple weeks. And in turn, she ended up being operated on, and I brought her back home. She had stomach problems, and I brought her back.
Mm-hmm. Is this the first time your daughter's had trouble in school?
Not really. She's had a little bit of trouble with nothing like this.
Well, but she's had trouble in school.
Yes, ma'am.
She's had trouble. I'm not talking about her academic grades. I'm talking about with fighting.
She's had a couple fights.
Right.
Nothing.
Now, nothing as serious as this.
No.
But they started a while ago. Right?
Well, this is way back in school, yes, ma'am.
They started a while ago. Well, what have you done to try to address this? You have a young lady who has had problems in the past with fighting in school. What have you done to try to address it?
Everything I could.
Like what?
She's gone to doctors.
You mean to psychiatrists, psychologists?
Yes, ma'am.
How long has she been in therapy?
Oh, on and off for quite a while.
Have they come to any decision as to why she acts aggressively?
She's attention deficit disorder. She's been on medication for it, and she seemed to grow out of it. I mean, She doesn't fight with everybody. You know, believe it, it's just a rare occasion with her. She's just not. She's not a fighter.
Well, she is a fighter, sir. I mean,
Well,
I had 5 children, and I will tell you that they got into a lot of trouble. But they didn't get into trouble hitting other people. And your daughter has had that kind of problem, which is one of the reasons that you had her in therapy, I assume.
Not for fighting, ma'am, no.
Well, you should have. Because it's not normal for a young lady to become physical. That's not right.
Well, ma'am, Your Honor, my other daughter, who's living with me now, came back from Tennessee. She got in fights. She was attacked. It happens in school.
Is your name Grumsha?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Grumsha, it doesn't happen in school. It happens if there are 30 million children in school in this country at any one time. It is a minuscule number of children who are involved in fighting, and an even more minuscule number of girls that are involved in fighting. So you can't tell me, you can't say to yourself, well, it happens in school. It doesn't happen in school. You know, girls can be nasty, they can be cutting, they can be gossipy, you know. But I don't buy your daughter's version of these events. I think that she didn't like this young lady for a long time.
No, that's not what it was.
Oh, yeah, I think that that's what it was.
No, it wasn't.
And I think you'd been teasing her for a long time.
I'll admit to be teasing her, but she's not sweet and innocent like she right now shows to be. She's got a mouth on her too.
I don't doubt that, madam. But I don't doubt that she can respond to you. But I think that you were teasing her, whether you were jealous.
Jealous.
Maybe. Envious for some reason. Didn't like the way she looked. Trying to show off for your friends. Whatever reason it was, according to these medical reports, she was injured very badly.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Didn't anybody come and try to stop this when it was happening?
One girl did stop it, but I was unconscious when she stopped it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lucille Meyer says her 15-year-old daughter, Heather, suffered severe injuries when George Grumsha's daughter, Rebecca, assaulted her in school. Rebecca says she didn't start it.
You want to tell me about how long you were out of school?
Me? I went back to school the next week because the doctor told me to.
So you were out of school for a week?
No. I went back to school the weekend after it happened.
Okay, so you went back to school on Monday.
Yeah, but I had to stay at a drill team for at least 4 months after it because...
What's drill team? Explain that.
It's color guard, it's flags for band, and...
Why did you have to stay at drill team?
Because I couldn't lift the flag because my neck and my shoulders hurt too bad.
Were you in treatment during that 4-month period?
Yes, I had treatment from physical therapists for my knees, and I've gone to orthopedic surgeons for my back, and I just started going to a chiropractor.
All right, Ms. Meyer, could you step up, please? Can you tell me what your out-of-pocket medical expenses were?
Our total is $5,141.77.
And what is not covered by insurance?
This is everything that wasn't covered by insurance.
That was not covered by insurance?
Yes, this is not covered by insurance. I calculated everything that was not covered.
Let me see that, please.
Sorry.
I see that there are bills here from a dentist. What happened to your mouth?
It threw my jaw off alignment and pushed it back and wore away at the cartilage. And I have to wear a jaw splint for it to restabilize my mouth.
Tell me about this jaw splint that you have to wear.
Do you want to see it?
Yeah. Let me see. And you didn't have to wear that before?
No.
None of the TMJ specialist, none of that was covered by insurance. That was strictly out of my pocket.
It's more than pushing. Do you understand that? Do you understand that, madam?
Yes.
This is more than a little pushing. Didn't anybody come and try to stop this when it was happening?
Some people tried to, but they told me they were afraid because I asked some people I knew. And one girl did stop it, but I was unconscious when she stopped it.
You mean you had actually passed out?
I was passed out.
Where were the teachers?
The teacher came out a while after because they had slapped me to wake me up. They had woken me up and carried me into the classroom. It happened outside of.
Looks like you've been to see a lot of doctors.
I did.
You have to wear that plate in your mouth all the time?
Yes.
You have pain in the morning when you wake up?
I always have pain.
In your jaw?
Mm-hmm. My jaw and my neck.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Listen, you understand that the maximum that I can award you is $5,000. I quite frankly don't know why you have elected to sue in a small claim situation where the maximum is $5,000. As far as I'm concerned, this young lady is not only responsible for your unreimbursed medical bills, she is also responsible for pain and suffering and whatever long-term physical problems you're going to have. I'm not questioning that. I'm not here to produce more litigation for other courts.
We are also going to criminal court.
I understand, Mr. Grumshaw, that you are, I assume, a single parent raising
Yes, ma'am,
a
I
daughter.
am.
Daughter has been in your custody, and I gather from what you tell me, sir, that you have tried to address some of the problems that you've seen with her ADD, seeing a therapist, being on medication. She went out of control. This wasn't a pushing and shoving.
Your Honor, could I say something, please?
Sure.
When she came home after this scuffle, she complained of stomach aches. She ended up getting operated on for a blockage in intestines, which was caused by adhesions to her appendicitis. I didn't.
That has nothing to do with this fight, sir.
I didn't.
That has nothing to do with this fight, sir. The fact that she added adhesions to her appendicitis when she went down to Tennessee and she was operated on 2 weeks later. You don't get adhesions in 2 weeks. Mr. Grumshaw, don't make 2 months. Don't make excuses, sir.
Not excuses.
Don't make excuses, sir. Your daughter caused some serious damage. She knows she caused serious damage. Well, she knows she can't look at me and tell me she didn't provoke
I got
this.
into a fight with her.
No. You instigated it and you hurt her seriously, either because you are harboring an old grudge for something that dated back to junior high school, but whatever it is, you lost control. And you have to pay for it. Judgment in the case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I thought it was just little girl things. You know, my daughter come home complaining that her and her friends were talking about her in PE and blah, blah, blah.
I don't think Mr. Grishma is living in reality. His daughter has a problem. He needs to understand that.
This is the only fight my child's been in years. I can't see where it's anything criminal.
She was going to come back and finish my daughter off.
Now, this is case number 274 on the calendar in the matter of Asada versus Dacey. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat.
Well, I have really two complaints here. One is your complaint, sir, against her. You're suing her because you say she purposely kicked your car, causing damage to it.
Yes.
And I have your complaint against him for several $1,000s. I think you're suing for $3,000 because you say he assaulted you.
Yes.
From what I gather from these papers, you two children have a child.
Yes.
And how old is this child?
She's 16 months.
How old are you?
23.
And how old were you when you had this baby?
It was right after my 16th birthday.
Were you
Or
living
right
at
after my 17th birthday. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Were you living at home then?
I was living with him, and then like about 2 weeks before I had the baby, I was getting no support from him, so I moved back in with my mom to get some support. Then right after I had the baby, then I moved back in with him.
You live at home?
Yes, I moved back there about 4 months ago.
So you live with your mother?
Yes.
And father?
No.
Just with your mother?
Yes.
Actually, I took responsibility for her for 3 years when her mother didn't want responsibility of her anymore, gave up custody of her, and I basically took her in for 3 years. When she was 9 months pregnant, her mother said that she didn't want her to move back home. She said that there was shelters out there that would take care of a teenage mother.
What'd you have problems with your mom about?
Just normal rebellious. I wanted to go out. She wanted me.
You have a
not
drug
go out.
problem?
No.
Never?
No.
You hesitated for a minute.
I have done, yes, I have done drugs before in the past.
Know that. And you, sir?
Drug problem? No.
Yeah. Have you done any drugs?
No.
Was she doing drugs when she was living with you?
Yes, she was smoking marijuana.
Mm-hmm. What about when she was pregnant?
I don't believe so. Not that I can remember
What
now.
about after the baby was born?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, you separated, and then this incident occurred with your car. You want to tell me your version of it, sir?
Well, I was going to pick up a friend which lives close by to where she lives. And on the way back, we happened to see her walking with my daughter. So I stopped to, see my daughter. And
What time was this, sir?
It was about 9:45 p.m. She lives in a kind of a bad neighborhood. I was concerned for the welfare of my child. She said that she never walks the baby at that time, but obviously she does. When she came over to us, she asked us where we were going. I said we were going to go out. And she spit on us. She spit on me and him through my car window.
Let's take this step by step. And I want you to understand something. I'm very, very smart.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they keep me here. Not because I'm gorgeous. Right, Bird?
Well, that's a good enough reason, Judge.
I stopped my car. She came over to where my car was. I opened the door to the car, got out, saw my daughter.
What did you say to her?
I said, what are you doing with the baby out at this time at night?
And what? Okay, so right away we got a problem. You're saying to her, what are you doing outside with the baby? And what did she say to you?
She said that she was going to call me at a payphone across the street.
That was her answer?
Mm-hmm.
So far, is that correct?
No.
No. So then what happened?
So then after I, said goodbye to my daughter, I tried to leave. I got into my car. She put the baby stroller in front of my car door so I could not shut it. So I calmly got out and, moved the stroller away, shut my door. She said, where are you going? Going out. She spit on us. And then when I was pulling out, she started kicking my car.
What kind of car was this?
It's a Chevy Cavalier.
Okay, and I assume you have pictures to show me.
Yes.
Could I see them, please?
I also have an estimate.
I'll see that too. Okay. Now let's hear your version of the events and what you say happened on that evening.
Okay, normally I don't take my daughter out that late, but she was still up. I was going to get a treat for us from the store, about 200 feet from my apartment door to the Circle K across the street, okay? Walked to the store, got my things, was halfway across the street from the store and my apartment complex when I see him drive by. He makes a U-turn, turns into my apartment complex, and gets out and says, what are you doing with my daughter out this late, blah, blah, blah. Just starts totally harassing me. Yeah, I said, I'm not doing this in front of my daughter. So I start walking away. That's when he grabs me by my hair. I didn't know he was coming, you know, because it was all quiet. He just grabs me by my hair and proceeds to just grab me by my arm, like kind of drag me on the ground. I skinned my knee. Then I got up, started to leave again. He kicks me in the stomach. I lose my wind, you know, I gather myself up, and then by then I grab the stroller, start running for my apartment. I yell back, I am calling the police, you're not getting away with this one. He yells, I have 2 witnesses that say I didn't touch you. Okay, the whole time this was happening, this guy over here sitting in the chair, he was laughing. He sees a girl getting beat up, he's laughing, okay?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm telling you, the only one that I feel sorry for in this situation is this 18-month-old baby who happens to have 2 morons for parents.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Scott Azada is suing the mother of his child, 18-year-old Karen Dacey, claiming she kicked and damaged his car during an argument. Karen says Scott is abusive towards her and denies kicking his car.
So did you go up and call the police?
Yes, my mom was just going to bed, whatever. She said, you know, Karen, you know, I really don't want to deal with this tonight. So she asked me to make the phone call from across the street at the Circle K. I have a police report. They came out and...
You mean your mother told you, don't call from my house, go across the street? Is that what your mother told you? I'm asking you a question. Your mother told you, don't call from the house.
She didn't say don't. I could. She didn't. I told her I was going to call across the street. No, she didn't say. She was just saying, you know, why do we have to deal with this? Why does this always have to happen? You know, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, just, you know, I was mad. I was like, just forget about it. I'll just call from across the street. I just don't want to bring her into any more. I've had so many problems with him. Everybody has to witness it around me. That's why she's here. I lost my job because she didn't want to witness this anymore. Yes.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Teresa Garner.
You said she was your nanny for a while. Do you mean she was your babysitter?
She was a babysitter. I have 3 children. I met Karen through Scott. He used to work at the mall that we have a plant rental and maintenance company, and we did the plants. I met Scott there. After Michelle was born, she didn't want to go back to work at Panda Express, a fast food place, so I gave her a job where she could have the baby there.
Where she could have the baby at your place of business?
Right, where she was taking care of my kid, she could have the baby. Several times, Your Honor, she's come over crying. I took the baby away from these 2 in one incident because they're fighting all the time in front of my house. I told him neither one of them could have the baby. When they're acting like that, he had her outside, was trying to push her in the car, same thing, pulling her hair, calling her names. The verbal abuse went on forever. Little codes on her beeper 187, which I guess is murder or something, and all this other kind of junk.
Have you ever seen him put his hands on her?
Yes, I have.
Sit down.
Thank you.
May I say something?
Absolutely. Step up here. Tell me your name.
Kevin Meimersdorf. When this occurred that night, also when she was all trying to get him away from the car to tell him, like wanting to talk to him privately, and he was like, "No, I got these witnesses. You can say whatever you have to say right here by the car."
You think that that's helpful to him?
Well,
what you just told me?
Well, yeah. I'd like to.
You think that that's helpful?
Yeah.
I got a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
Where were you going?
We're going to my brother's house to pick him up.
And where does he live?
He lives on Chop and Boulder.
And how far is that from where the defendant lives?
I'd say maybe a quarter mile, if that.
Mm-hmm. And is there another way of getting there other than passing by the front of her apartment complex?
There is. Yes, there is. Yes,
Good.
there is.
So you could have gone a different route.
Right.
Who was driving?
He was.
So yet he chose to drive by her apartment complex. Right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And when he got out of the car, the first thing he said to her is, "What are you doing outside at 9:15 with the baby?"
Right.
But he didn't say it in that kind of tone, did he?
No.
No.
I mean, well, he just exactly the tone what you just said. What
Oh,
are
you
doing?
think so? Is that what you remember, sir? Is that as true as everything else
Yes,
that you're going
ma'am.
to tell me today?
Yes,
That in a very calm tone, he said to her, "Why are you out with the baby at 9:15?" Is that the tone?
Well, it might have been a little bit, a little bit more higher than that. I mean, Definitely. I mean, not at a soft tone, but I mean, he's like, what are you doing at this late at night, basically at 9:30 at night, you know, in this neighborhood?
And when he said that to her, sir, was there any profanity dotting his words? Like, did he say, what the blank are you doing blank out at this blank hour? Does that sound, ring a bell?
No, ma'am.
So far, I'm not getting the ring of truth from you, sir.
You're getting everything, all the truth.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because it does, I mean, I'm not saying she's terrific.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, she's not terrific.
Right.
Right? And I'm telling you, the only one that I feel sorry for in this situation is this 18-month-old baby, who happens to have two morons for parents, right? Her, because she doesn't know whether she's here or there or where she's going to be or what she's going to do or anything else. She's a baby. And you, who enjoy a reasonable order of visitation from 2 in the afternoon till 8 o'clock at night, 4 days a week.
I haven't been able to enjoy it because I haven't been getting my visitation.
Well, then you go to court, sir, and you deal with it.
I am. I'm in the process of doing that.
Then that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to go around where she's living and confront her.
Oh, but that was not my main priority to go over there.
I didn't ask you whether it was your main priority. It shouldn't have been any priority. What you do is, if you've had periods of domestic violence and negative interaction with her, you stay away from her.
I've never, but she comes to my work also and harasses me there.
Just a second. I don't doubt that she does that.
And calls my house and comes by my house.
Listen to me. I don't doubt that she does that. Because I think she's a flake. I do.
She is.
I believe she's a flake. This lady knows she's a flake, right?
Young.
Young.
Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Flaky, young, too young to have an 18, to be responsible for an 18-month-old baby.
I agree.
There's no question about that. There is also no question in my mind, sir, that this evening wasn't as you have indicated to me, that you were just driving by to go pick up a friend and all of a sudden you saw her. You went by her apartment complex and it was the wrong thing to do.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If you've taken drugs in the last 6 to 9 months, the hair follicle test will establish it. And if you wish to go, we will make arrangements for you to go immediately.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Scott Azada claims the mother of his child, Karen Dacey, kicked his car. Karen says she has a restraining order because Scott is abusive.
Mr. Rizzuto, you play with fire, you're going to get burned. You screw around with a teenager and make a baby with her, and that doesn't mean that your life's going to be easy. It's going to be harder. You have a child, and if you think that she's incapable of taking care of this child, and you may be right, and you may be a more appropriate custodial parent, the way to deal with it is through the court, not in the street at 9:45.
I feel, you know, I'm concerned about the welfare of my daughter. That is the main
Then,
priority
sir, you have
here.
to deal with that through the courts.
I've been dealing with it for 5 months and I haven't got one bit of satisfaction. I haven't even got a court date yet.
The court system didn't make you a baby. Judge didn't get in there that night. Right? You did. And you were old enough to have known better.
Yes.
You were, in the eyes of the law, an adult. She was a minor, in the eyes of the law. So, when you went to the police, did they arrest him?
No, he was long gone.
And you, sir, did you make a police report?
No, I kind of just went home because I didn't want to deal with her anymore.
Did you ever pull her hair?
No.
Never?
No.
You mean she's lying when she says she saw you pull her hair?
She's also lying about her taking my child. She's never, I don't even trust her with my child over there because she smokes just as much dope as she does.
Can I say something in my defense? No,
I don't think she's capable of taking care of her own kids.
It's not necessary. It's not necessary. Well, I think that you two young people better decide that you're going to straighten up your lives because you made a baby, and the baby is the only innocent in this situation.
This is a picture of what looks exactly like a cigarette burn or...
And I've also...
Shh. Would you let her finish?
On my daughter, when she came home from visiting with him, I changed her diaper and into her pajamas right away, and I noticed this. He smokes, his whole family smokes, okay? And about the drugs and smoking, whatever, I have not even done any drugs since I've been with him. And the
Madam,
reason why
let me tell you something. A, he never burned your baby with a cigarette. Never happened. You could have a picture there, you could have 20 pictures there. I'm telling you, I've been in this business for a quarter of a century. This man never purposefully injured that child, nor did he permit anybody else to purposefully injure that child. Now, he may have done lots of negative things to you, but he never purposely hurt his daughter. So you may be able to convince some other family court judge or some other moron that he did with the picture that you're going to show him. But I'm telling you, he never purposely hurt your daughter.
How would you know that?
How would I know it? Because I'm very smart. And I'm smarter than you'll be if you live to be 500. And I'm also prepared to tell you that you do smoke dope, and you have smoked dope more recently than from the time you first met him. And if I sent you today to have a hair follicle test, I guarantee you that that hair follicle test would bear me out. And if you are willing to go, we will make the arrangements for you to go for a hair follicle test, because the hair follicle test will establish when the last time, if you've smoked drugs or taken drugs in the last 6 to 9 months, the hair follicle test will establish it. And if you wish to go, we will make arrangements for you to go immediately.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Would you like me to make the arrangements right now, and I can have a hair follicle test done right now?
All I have to say to that is, not unless he's getting one. This guy has done more than marijuana.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Why am I going to show something it was less than 6 months ago, because me and him only broke up 3.5 months ago. Why am I going to show what is wrong with me or whatever if this guy's sitting here, oh, I don't do drugs. This guy is the king of selling drugs, doing drugs, whatever.
Listen to me.
So why do we care about what I'm doing?
Why? There's a very easy answer to that question, madam. Because right now you are the primary custodial...
What I've done.
Hey! Right now you are the primary custodial parent of an 18-month-old child. That's why it's more important. And so I asked you a simple question. I said, do you want me to make arrangements for you to go for a hair follicle test? Your answer was no. Good. This is the judgment of the court. The judgment of the court is as follows. I am awarding the plaintiff $585 to fix his car. I am awarding the defendant $585 for the assault. That's a wash. Get out of here.
Parties are excused. Step out. You have my pictures and stuff? You'll get them.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She's been coming home with injuries, saying words that 1.5-year-olds should not be saying, all sorts of things.
It's just all garbage, pretty much.
I got one thing to say. You sell marijuana to little kids in the neighborhood, and I know that. And that's all I got to say.
Leave me alone. I'm glad that this happened.
Don't worry,
Just leave me
I've left you
alone.
alone for a long
I don't
time,
love you anymore. Don't want you.
Your Honor, this is case number 333 on the calendar in the matter of Sullivan versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Ms. Sullivan, your complaint alleges that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes.
Over a year ago.
Right.
And you're suing him for the hospital bills.
Right.
So I want you to tell me where he assaulted you, how he assaulted you, and why you waited a year to bring this lawsuit.
Ron and I had known each other about 5 months, or we were together for about 5 months. After 3 months, we moved in together. And probably about 2 months after that, Ron and I had an argument in our apartment, and he asked me to leave, and I told him to go to his friend Jesse's house and that I would be gone by the time he got back. It turned into just an argument, and he picked me up and he threw me out the door into the railing. I walked down the stairs into the Chevron station where I called the police and my dad. The police came and arrested Ron. Ron and I didn't speak for 2 weeks. After that, we got back together, and Ron agreed to help me pay the hospital bill.
Okay, so you got back together again. And how long were you back together again?
Off and on, probably 7 months.
When you say off and on for 7 months, you mean you lived together?
No.
You didn't stay at his house?
No. After that, my cousin and my grandmother, after I left the hospital, had to go to my apartment and move me out because my knee was sprained and I had 8 stitches in my face and a slight head concussion. And I moved into my Aunt Anna's house at that time.
So you never again stayed at his house?
No.
But you dated?
Yes.
And then what happened?
It just didn't work out. He agreed to pay half of the hospital bill or help me out with the bills. And when we broke up, I had called him and asked him if he was still going to help me, and he told me, good luck, I'm moving in November to go to the wrestling camp. Okay. So that's when I decided to take him to court.
You made an agreement with him, according to you, that you consented to for him to pay for half of the medical bills.
Right, and he had agreed to it.
Okay. And how much were the medical bills?
It's $1,177 now in a collection.
$1,177.
You're right.
That's the whole bill?
Yeah, in collection. The whole bill was $882.
Well, it was $882, and then they built up interest on it.
Right, which is on my name in collection.
Why didn't you pay any part of the bill?
Because I just hadn't done it, and then when I had
no, I know you hadn't done it, but my question is, why hadn't you done it?
I had just figured that Ron put me in the hospital, then he should have to pay for it. Why should I have to go through that and pay for it, too?
Well, I'm just asking, I understand that, but what I'm questioning you about is, if you agreed with him that he would pay half the bill, why didn't you, since you were going to pay the other half, pay the other half instead of stiffing the hospital completely?
I just didn't do it.
Well, that's not very responsible.
It's not.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a waitress.
Now, you're suing him for a lot more than half of $1,177.
Right.
Why?
I'm suing him $1,200 for the 6 weeks of loss of work.
Why?
Because I missed work because of him.
But you were seeing each other after this incident. I'll get to you in a second.
Yeah, we were.
And even at the time when you separated 7 months later, according to you, you still said to him, what about the half of this hospital bill that you said you were going to pay?
And he didn't want to do it.
Also, I still don't understand why now you're tacking on a whole lot of other things.
I had changed my mind. I had decided, why should I have to pay for half of it when it wasn't even my fault? He put me in the hospital. He should pay for the whole thing.
Yeah, but you, according to you, had an oral contract with him to pay for half of the bill.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. Now, Mr. Smith, you want to tell me your version of these events, please?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, we did get into a verbal confrontation, and what it was when we were living together, she was purchasing cocaine. And I have 2 kids. I pay my child support. I only get to see one of them, and I didn't want anything to jeopardize my son being able to come and visit me in my home, and something like that would. I asked her to leave. She refused to leave. I didn't pick her up and throw her out the door. She got hit with the door. She stuck her foot in the door, and then I put my hand on her to get her out the door and close the door behind her. I did not physically pick her up and throw her out the door. I went through my anger management classes, and
you pled guilty to the assault.
I pled no contest.
That's the same as guilty?
Yes. I went through my anger management classes, and like she says, you know, I did agree to pay half of the hospital bill. I did. It was all fine and good until just a little while ago. What it is she calls me up, and when she does call me, she's drunk. And all she wants to do is make up. She's pledging undying love and affection. You know, she wants to be with. She comes to my work drunk. She calls me up drunk, telling me that she loves me. She just wants to be with me. She's never loved anybody like me before, and blah, blah, blah whatsoever. And when I told her, no, I'm sorry, I'm moving, I'm going to Atlanta, she wanted to come to Atlanta with me. After the incident happened, she quit her job so she could move to Minnesota because she was going to be with her mother. It had nothing to do with me at all. That's why she missed that work. She quit her job.
Okay.
I did not make contact with her after the incident. She made contact with me.
Tell me about this argument. The reason that you say that you pushed her out of the house was because of cocaine.
Yes.
Was she, according to you, selling cocaine?
She was buying it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Since when do I do drugs?
You don't smoke pot?
No, I don't.
You don't
Do you?
get drunk?
Oh,
You call the studio drunk off you.
And later today,
He broke the engagement.
By having this affair?
No, he needed time alone. He needed to find himself.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Misty Sullivan says her ex-boyfriend Ron Smith assaulted her during an argument and wants him to pay for her medical bills. Ron doesn't deny he injured Misty, but says they agreed he would pay only half of the bills.
Tell me about this argument.
I tell her, I don't want this in my home. I told her that when she got off the phone. We argued about it. I don't want this in my home. Like I said, my son comes over. So the next day, I go to work and I come home and she's on the phone with one of her ex-boyfriends that she's making this cocaine deal with. And I told her right then and there, don't do it in this house. I don't care if you go down to the payphone down the street. Don't do it in here.
And that precipitated this argument.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Ms. Sullivan, I just want to ask you one question. Does that have a ring of truth to it?
Yes, it does.
Good. So, that's what the argument was about. Well, say nothing. That doesn't excuse the fact, madam, that he put his hands on you.
No.
That doesn't excuse that. That's saying that he has a right to have you out of his house. If you're that dumb, that you would involve the household in a situation where even for a moment there was going to be a drug transaction taking place even on the phone. That still doesn't excuse her, someone of your size, from giving her a shove outside, and she was clearly injured, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, somebody's got to pay for that. According to what she says, and according to what you seem to acknowledge, that you had agreed to pay for half of the medical bill. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That was your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you didn't pay and she didn't pay, so the only one that got stiffed so far is the hospital that provided the service. That doesn't sound fair, right?
Right.
So, you have to pay, sir. You have to pay half. I'm going to round it off because I like round numbers. $1,177 we're going to take to $1,200, so the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back to your rest.
I think the justice system is the best in the world. Thank you, Judge Judy. I'm sure she'll find something else to give me hell about before I leave. I got like another week or so.
And now the next case.
Parties on Urea versus Snyder. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Christy Urea says she and 24-year-old Christian Snyder were engaged to be married until she caught him cheating. She's suing for credit card bills and wedding expenses.
How old are you?
24.
Young looking. You're lucky.
Thank you.
But not smart. Because according to this complaint, you were engaged to the boss's daughter.
That would be me.
And you had a little tryst with somebody in the office. And then the engagement was over. And she says that you owe her money from all the things that she spent for the wedding and some other credit card bills. And you signed a note. And then she said you didn't pay. Is that what this is about?
Yes, he stopped paying. He had been paying for a while.
Okay, so that's pretty much what this is about. Was he working for your father at the time that you became engaged? Is that how you met him?
No, it's not.
Because this becomes important in this story later. He said he was coerced into signing this note. So who was he working for when you met him?
He was working for an automotive shop somewhere down in Montclair.
As a mechanic?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
And how long did you know him before he came to work for your father?
Probably a little over a year.
Is that right?
That's about right, yeah.
And what kind of business does your father have?
An automotive repair shop.
So it was the same kind of business?
Yes.
And what were you doing for her father? Working as a mechanic?
Yeah, and also helping run the office.
Do you have any brothers?
Yes, I have a brother.
Does he work in the business?
No.
Do you have any other sisters?
I have a sister, yes.
Does she work in the business?
No.
So there you have a business that could grow into a business that's yours. Did that ever occur to you?
Yeah.
Then you became engaged when?
March of this year.
And you made certain preparations?
Yes, we did.
Like what?
Well, we reserved the chapel to get married. I have wedding invitations that we had made up. I had a dress
My girls got their dresses.
When, just stop playing, look at me. When was this wedding supposed to take place?
August 30th.
And tell me when the engagement was broken.
July, beginning of July.
By whom and why?
By him, because he said he needed to find himself, and then I found out he was sleeping with one of the girls from my dad's work.
How did you find that out?
Because his mother called me at midnight and told me, because I guess she'd gone by his mom's house.
The girl had gone by his mom's house? Did you confront him with that?
Yep.
What'd he say?
He tried to talk his way around it, and I went to the girl's house, and his car was there, and he admitted to it. And then he tried to come back to me after that, and then he went back to her, and he played a game for a little while.
Did you tell your father?
Oh, yes.
So you were willing to go through with this wedding even though you found out that he was fooling around. So
oh, no.
Because you said he broke the engagement.
Yes, he broke the engagement.
By having this affair?
No, well, that's not, that's the reason why, but that's not the reason he gave me.
What was the reason he gave you?
He needed time alone. He needed to find himself.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Same girlfriend that you were meeting with while you were engaged to her?
At the time, there was nothing going on, but...
Just visiting?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christy Urea called off her wedding when she discovered her fiancé, Christian Snyder, was cheating. She's suing for wedding expenses and credit card bills. Christian says he paid Christy's college tuition, making them even.
So then you signed a note, right?
Yes.
It's right here.
Well, show it to him because that'll make it easier. I don't have to show him the copy that I have. That's the note that you signed, sir?
Yes.
Well, tell me about that because you say you were coerced into signing the note.
I was told that if I signed it, it could be negotiated later, but I needed to sign it so I could get back to work, and I was afraid of losing my job.
Okay, let's start. You were presented with this note. By whom?
By her father.
In the office?
Yes.
You signed it?
Yes. I was afraid I'd lose my job if I didn't sign it, and I needed to pay child support.
So, you had a choice of either signing the note or going to find another job, right?
Yes, if you put it that way.
Did you honestly believe, sir, that her father was going to keep you on the payroll after he found out that you were fooling around with somebody else in his business?
He told me I could.
I got a bridge I want to sell you. You're 24 years old and you tell me that you have child support that you have to pay.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
One.
How old?
She's going to be 5.
So you were a teenager when you had this child, right?
Yes.
Were you married to the child's mother?
Yes.
Is that your only marriage?
Yes.
So you signed this note for $3,000. Is that what it was?
$3,200, yes.
And according to you, you paid some of it.
Yes.
And she acknowledges that you paid some of it.
I wrote him a receipt every time he made me a payment.
Made you a payment, but money was also deducted from his check at work.
Yes, and my father wrote him receipts. I have those. That's how they started, and I continued writing them.
Let me see the receipts. Well, the last one was in September, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a balance due of $2,294.
Correct.
And you're still suing for $3,000.
Yes.
Explain that to me.
I have a proposal I had done. He kicked holes in my wall and attempted to fix them.
When?
The last month that we were together, when he started acting really bizarre.
Before or after you had him sign this note?
Before.
Forget it. What's next?
The wedding invitations that I had to pay my mother back for.
He had ordered those invitations before this note, correct?
Yes.
Well, look, Miss Urea, we're not going to reinvent the wheel here. You, at a time, memorialized in writing and had him sign, your father had him sign, what he owed you as of a date certain. He, according to you, made certain payments. These are all the payments that she says she has. And do you get a copy of these receipts?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have any question in your mind that the last receipt indicates that the balance due was $2,294?
I believe that's what it was, yes.
Okay.
So now you explain to me, sir, why you don't owe her this money.
Because I don't have any of the stuff she wants me to pay for. I also paid for her school, which I was never reimbursed for. I figured we'd just make it even.
Well, did you have an agreement with her to
A
pay?
verbal agreement, she was going to pay me back, yes.
Well, explain that to me.
I gave, because her father would pay for school and she got good grades. So in order to get started, she needed money to go to school, to pay for first semester, and then her father would pick it up from there.
How much did you pay?
I don't exactly know how much it was.
Well, if you don't know, I don't know.
I believe it was maybe $200, including books and stuff.
Give me another reason why you don't owe this money. The first one I'm shelving.
The whole time we were together, I was also helping her on her credit cards and stuff like that. Just from the past year, I have almost $2,500 in canceled checks and stuff to her credit cards.
Sir?
That's not
You both used her credit cards. You're clutching at straws, Mr. Snyder. You signed a note for $3,200. You're 24 years old. You've been married once, divorced once. You're the father of a child. That's the end of the story. If you had said to me that our father coerced you into signing this note because he took your left ankle and tied it around your right ear, right? And he was torturing you, that's against the law.
Well, you don't know her father. I mean, he has called me threatening me that he's going to come take it from me and stuff like that.
You mean when you didn't pay?
Yeah.
Well, that's a different story. When you didn't pay, I'm talking about when you signed the note. And according to you, you felt coerced into signing this note because you were afraid to lose your job.
Not only that, her father is extremely intimidating.
What do you mean is extremely intimidating, sir?
He just is. He's very
Like me?
hot-tempered.
Huh?
No, actually, he's more intimidating than you are.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, you signed the note, you have an obligation to pay it. It's as simple as that. Not smart to fool around like that, Mr. Snyder. You living with anybody now, sir?
Yes.
Who?
My girlfriend?
Same girlfriend that you were
Yes.
meeting with while you were engaged to her?
At the time, there was nothing going on, but...
Just visiting? All right, what's the bottom line here? Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,294. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You came crying back to me because you were so confused, because you're so distraught at the age of 24.
Yeah, who showed up at whose house at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, to beat your little girlfriend up, that's why. He did this to his ex-wife, he did this to his other ex-girlfriend, and he owes all kinds of women money. So women everywhere can look at him and know this is the kind of guy he is. He's a man, a real man.
No, look at how she's acting now. It just kind of shows how she was at home, too.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Ma'am.
Judge, number 230 on the calendar in the matter of Garrett versus Bradford Ullman. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Miss Garrett, this is your granddaughter.
That's correct.
Your name is Bradford?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're her boyfriend?
Yes.
You live together?
Yes.
And you have 2 children?
3.
3 children. But they're not your children?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Garrett, you're suing your granddaughter and her boyfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you rented them a house.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did.
And you say that A, they did not pay rent.
That's correct.
B, they vandalized your house.
Yes.
And they took property that was yours from the house.
Absolutely.
When did you and why did you rent this house to them?
Well, Misty lived there prior for a year, approximately, prior to a year of her mom moving out.
So originally her mother lived there and she lived with her mother and her 3 children.
Exactly. And then she, the mother moved out and Misty...
That's your daughter?
My daughter. Misty didn't have any place to go, nor the money to go anyplace else. So I told her I would rent her my house, and I did.
What was the monthly rental?
$466. That covers my mortgage payment.
Now, you admit, Miss Ullman, that you did not make one rental payment.
Yes.
And that's after you say you were served with an eviction notice from your grandmother.
Yes.
So you admit that you owe her that money.
Yes, I do.
There came a time when you decided to evict her.
Yes.
Can you tell me why?
Well, for one thing, they were not paying the rent, which I needed. I'm on a fixed income. I needed the rent money to cover my own expenses. I have enough to take care of my own personal needs, but not that of Misty, her boyfriends, or her children. So I needed the money for that. And the eviction started over the payment. There was also other problems involved during the eviction.
Like what?
Over the children.
What?
I heard verbal abuse from Mr. Bradford with the 3 children. I was very much concerned about that. They were going to ship the young boy off to Alaska to a father that he hardly knew, to people that did not know him. And I was very upset.
Her oldest child they were going to send to the father's house?
In Alaska, because he was causing problems. He does have a behavior problem. But to me, you don't have throwaway children.
How close do you live to them?
I lived about 60 feet in a studio apartment that's on the same property as my big house.
Before you served them with an eviction notice, did you tell them that you wanted them to move out?
Yes, I did.
Are you sure?
I sent them a letter asking them to come to me to work out a payment plan for the rents owed.
How many months' rent did they owe you by the time they left?
She stayed there. They stayed there. May I have a drink of water?
Please.
They stayed there for 3 months. They paid me a total of $580.
Do you have proof of payment of more than $580?
No, I do not. I used money orders, and I gave the money orders to my grandma, and then she went to the bank and made the payment.
She says that you gave her a total of $580 during the 3 months that you were living there.
We were there for 3 months, and I did pay the first 2 months. The 3rd month I did not pay.
She says that one of the reasons she started eviction proceedings is because you weren't paying her.
No, that is not true. And
well, then do you have the receipts to show me 2 payments of $466
no,
each?
Your Honor, I do not.
And are you saying that the total they paid you was $580?
That's correct.
And she's also claiming that we owe, or that the rent was $466, which the mortgage payment and the insurance together is, but I was only responsible for $290 of it.
Why?
I didn't pay the insurance. That was not our agreement.
Just a second. Maybe when your mother was living there, it was split differently. But what was your mortgage payment?
$466.02, in fact.
You have proof of that?
Yes,
Cheryl?
I do.
Can I see it, please?
Your Honor, actually, the payments were $290 as they were when the mother lived there.
No. No. Who said so?
That's exactly how much they were.
She says that you had an understanding that you were going to pay whatever amount it was to cover her mortgage payment.
She's claiming $466, I believe, but that's not true, Your Honor.
Well, I want to see whether it's $466. She's going to show me.
The mortgage may, with the insurance may indeed be that, but that doesn't mean that was the agreement to pay that.
Well, why should why should she subsidize you? Where can you find a house for $466?
Well, I don't think that's the issue.
No, just a second. Where can you find a house for $466?
You can find them in Fresno. They're available. The people can scoff if they want. You're in Los Angeles. In Fresno, it's not uncommon to find a house for $450. It may not be palatial, but it'll be something that you can live in. And
well, was this a nice house?
Yeah, it is. It is a nice house. It's an older house, 70 or 80 years old, and it's very large.
Good. Well, $466 doesn't seem to me outrageous. So do you work?
Ma'am.
Do you work?
Do I work?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
Well, I just got a job as a production supervisor with a poultry company.
What were you doing during the time that you were living with Miss Oman in her grandmother's house?
Well, you mean, was I seeking employment or was I working?
No, were you working?
No, at that time I wasn't working. I was seeking employment.
Well, who was supporting you?
I received unemployment.
How much?
$400 a month.
And were you working?
No.
Why not?
Well, I have a few things that I'm a recovering addict, alcoholic, and during that time I've been seeking therapy and help for myself and for my kids, and that...
Well, you certainly weren't living on $400 a month that he was getting from unemployment insurance, so you must have been subsidized by the state in some way. Is that right?
Yes.
So you were receiving welfare?
Yes.
How much?
A total of $620 a month.
So you were receiving $620 and he was getting $400. That's $1,000 some odd dollars a month, more than enough to pay Grandma's mortgage.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
While she was involved with drugs, involved with alcohol, she had 2 more illegitimate children with 2 other men. Now, Mr. Bradford, you can understand why her grandmother was slightly frustrated.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lavelle Garrett claims her granddaughter, Misty Oman, and Misty's boyfriend, Tom Bradford, did not pay rent, stole, and damaged her property. Misty says her grandmother is trying to control her.
Now, let's get beyond the mortgage. Let's get to this vandalism. You have photographs of the house?
Yes, I do. It's under the green tag there that you have. I also have the color ones for you if you would like. Those are copies.
I'd like to see the originals, please. One of the things, Miss Garrett, that I'm sort of surprised at, well, I'm not faulting you because, you know, you came prepared for this lawsuit, but that you took such care to prepare this lawsuit when your granddaughter was involved. So my sense is that there's something more to this than just this property damage. Did you have a fight with her about sending this young boy to Alaska?
Yes, I did.
When did you have that fight with her?
It was after the eviction.
No, Your Honor, that's not true. It was prior to the eviction.
Okay, I couldn't be mistaken about that, Your Honor. I'm not sure. I mean, there's been an ongoing argument about this child for a long time because of my concern for his welfare.
Did you ever ask your granddaughter if your grandson could come and live with you?
He did live with me for 1 year. He was in my custody for 1 year. At this time, as we speak, he is living with my daughter.
With his maternal grandmother?
Right.
Is that through the state?
No.
By agreement?
By agreement between Mr. Bradford and Miss Oman.
Well, what does he have to do with it?
You tell me.
Nothing is the answer. I'd like you to look at some of these photographs and tell me whether any of this looks familiar to you.
I'd also like to add, Your Honor, this is a very sad day for me to have my granddaughter in court. I have loved this young lady for 24 years, and this is very, very sad for me to have her in court. But I've had it. I'm up to here with her, the men she's been dragging in and out of her children's life.
Your Honor, I'm trying to be polite and be reserved and be respectful of the court. And, you know, I'm just going to take a chance here and speak out. You know, I'm a good human being. I'm not going to be ashamed of the fact that I'm in between jobs. Many people in America are in between jobs right now. And it's nothing to laugh at or to be ashamed of. And I met Misty some months ago in March, in fact, and we developed a relationship. And we had a good relationship. In fact, her suitor, Bob Magretta, hired me to do a number of odd jobs for him while I was in between jobs. And in fact, after the eviction, offered me work and offered us a place to stay in one of his apartments that he rents. And we have a letter here stating that, saying you can come and live in one of my apartments and you can continue to have your job. We're not bad people. And I love her children and I love her. And we're planning to have a future together.
Mr. Bradford, Let me stop you, sir. I don't doubt certain of the things that you said to me. You don't fall in love with children after 6 months. As
I didn't say I fell in love.
Just a second. You said
I love the children.
You say you love her and you love her children. You don't
Yes, I
love
do.
her children. You don't love her children. You may tolerate 2 of them, certainly. You didn't love the third one. The third one was being sent away thousands of miles away from his siblings because clearly he was not thriving in your home, and he was probably, in all probability, you don't send the child away unless they are particularly troublesome.
He was going for a 4-week vacation, Your Honor, to see the father who she summons down to help with the child within the last few years. If you ask her, she'll tell you.
Just a second. That's not what it says in the answer.
When the psychiatric, when the doctors at the psychiatric facility recommended that we allow him to try to work out some of the unresolved issues by visiting with his dad.
What do you, Mr. Bradford, what do you think the unresolved issues are, sir?
Well, I'm not a professional in the psychiatric field, but
So you're not a professional, and you've been in this family for 6 months. You've been involved with these 3 children for 6 months. You have 3 children. Were you married once or more than once?
Once.
Once. And the father is, the person who lives in Alaska is the father of all 3 of your children?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, how many children is he the father of?
1.
1. And the other 2 children, do they have the same father?
No, Your Honor.
So I want you to listen to me very carefully, Mr. Bradford. What she said is she's had it up to here with the men that her granddaughter has brought into the lives of her grandchildren. And right now, very simple. I mean, just on its face, Misty acknowledges she had a substance abuse problem. Hopefully she's in recovery. But the bottom line is she has 3 children by 3 different men, only one of whom she was married to. She has a little boy who was clearly suffering as a result of A, his mother's addiction. She was, in all probability, neglectful of the children while she was involved with drugs. That's clear. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. While she was involved with drugs, involved with alcohol, she had 2 more illegitimate children with 2 other men. Now, Mr. Bradford, you can understand why her grandmother, who has probably been around for all of these tragedies that have gone on for her grandchildren, is slightly frustrated.
Well,
so don't tell me, sir, that we're good people and I love all these 3 children, because this lady has heard that before.
Well,
you have to understand the frustration.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Am I guessing at the fact that each of her 3 children have 3 different fathers?
No,
not
you're
guessing
not.
at that. And I'm not guessing at the fact, sir, that you don't know one thing that went on in this family from your own personal knowledge for the last 10 years.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Airline technician Lavelle Garrett says her granddaughter, Misty Oman, and her boyfriend, Tom Bradford, owe her for back rent and damaged property. Misty says it all started when she sent her son away.
Now, all I want you to do is look at those photographs and you tell me whether any of that damage to her property looks familiar. Just look at it.
There are some things that I am responsible for, but
like
some
what?
of this, for example, the broken portable closet, no. The screen.
What are you responsible for?
The screen right here, the cat potty.
The what?
The feces, the cat feces that they left in my bathroom floor, plus cat litter in my kitchen with cigarette butts and cat feces in it. The pictures are all here.
You're not suing for that much money. Right now, you're almost to the amount of money from back
I mean,
rent.
this coffee cup right here that's broken on the porch, somebody threw that at the window. And I asked...
Keep going.
Your Honor?
What?
The doorbell was removed because he took it down. It didn't work. He took it down. He was going to repair it. Grandma said that she didn't have the money to repair it, so we just left it on top of the refrigerator. This stuff is all just a mess from moving.
Just a minute. What do you mean it's a mess from moving? Why did you leave a mess when you moved?
We were moving, so we had
Who was supposed to clean it up?
No.
Missy, who was supposed to clean it up? Did you come back and clean up your mess after you moved?
Yes, this stuff we took with us.
I'm talking about the mess after you left. Cat litter, cigarette butts in the cat litter, dirt all over the place. Did you come back and clean that up?
No, my grandmother did not want me to come back to clean it up.
Did you? You mean you called your grandmother and said, I left the house a mess, I want to come back just for a day just to clean up the mess?
No, my grandmother made it very clear, do not come back.
The sheriffs escorted her out, and when she forgot 1 or 2 items inside the place in her, hasty exodus from the residence, they wouldn't even let her back in to get those items, okay? And so You know, when a sheriff's there and the kids are all on the porch crying, you know, and she's trying to get her stuff and get out. I'm not making her out to be an angel, but she's a good person, Your Honor, and I love her. And you see her sister over there crying, and I'll tell you why she's crying. Because you're making her out to, you're guessing, and I respect your position.
I'm not guessing, Mr.
No, that's
Bradford.
exactly what you're
Listen,
doing. That's exactly
I'm not
what you're
guessing,
doing.
sir. Am I guessing at the fact that Miss Oman has 3 children? Am I guessing?
That part you're not.
Am I guessing at the fact that each of her 3 children have 3 different fathers?
No,
not
you're
guessing at that. I'm not guessing at the fact that she was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I'm not guessing at that.
No, ma'am, you're not.
I'm not guessing at the fact that you've been involved in this family for less than a year. I'm not guessing at that.
No, you're not.
And I'm not guessing at the fact, sir, that you don't know one thing that went on in this family from your own personal knowledge for the last 10 years.
Well,
you don't
sure
know
I
that.
do.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Garrett, listen to me. Don't rent them an apartment anymore. I don't know if he's going to be long-term or short-term, whether he's going to be as long-term as the other 3 guys that were in your granddaughter's life. I haven't a clue. You've sued for very little money, slightly over $1,100. They owe you at least $800 in rent. That's your lawsuit. $1,184 is what your lawsuit was for. There is, based upon what I've seen, the mess alone in that apartment, as far as I'm concerned, takes at least $300 to clean up that kind of disaster. So, you tell me that this was a painful thing for you to do.
Yes, it is.
I not only think it's painful, I'm not so sure that I would have done it. I would have just said, from now on, I'm not going to bail my granddaughter out, and I would have eaten the $1,100. You chose not to do that, and I can't fault you for not saying, I'm going to chalk it up and write, from now on, they're on their own. It's sad that you brought her to court. She owes you the money. She owes you the money for rent, and she owes you the money for cleaning up the mess that she and her boyfriend left in your house. Judgment is for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,100. That's it, Miss Garrett. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I love my granddaughter very much. I went through a lot of hell with my granddaughter. I've always been there for her. But this time I have had it.
This is being there for her?
Can you please shut him up?
I mean, is this being there for your granddaughter? To humiliate her?
He's been in this family for 3 months. He's totally destroyed it.
You're such a wonderful parent. Why would she have been addicted to drugs? I'll stand by her. I'll be with her for some time to come. And I can tell you who won't be. These 2 people right here. Mark my words. You're here to prove that we've destroyed all this, that I'm a prisoner. Go ahead, walk away.
Breaking her cheekbone.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 100 on the calendar in the matter of O'Gene versus Hall. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Are you her father?
Yes.
What's your first name, Miss O'Gene?
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were a couple when you were teenagers.
Yes.
How old are you now?
I'm 19.
How old are you, sir?
18.
And you started to live together with your parents' permission.
Well, no, that's not true. I was moving away to go to college, and his mom was moving to the same town, and my dad offered to pay half the rent while I was in college, and I needed a roommate. As soon as I moved to Buffalo, I didn't have a roommate. I put up signs and stuff, and...
So you chose him as a roommate?
It was supposed to only be temporary.
So your father paid for half the rent and his mother paid for half the rent?
Yes.
But you were boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes.
And according to this complaint, you bought a car?
Yes.
He had an accident with the car, and he drove the car again, and he wrecked the car?
Yes.
And then, when you ultimately separated, you had an argument and he broke your jaw?
Yes.
So let's start at the beginning. You moved in together, both going to college?
No, I dropped out.
Then what were you doing in Buffalo?
I live in Buffalo.
So what were you doing when you were living with her?
Working.
Okay. And you were driving her car?
Yes.
You had an accident?
Yes.
First one?
Yes.
Why don't you tell me about it?
I backed into a truck.
And you caused damage to the truck?
Yes.
Did you pay for it?
No.
Why?
Because I didn't get the bill. She got the bill.
Did you say, could I have the bill?
Nah.
Why not?
Because she had the bill.
That should have been your first clue, right? So this bill for the damaged truck that he backed into is still outstanding.
Yes.
And how much was the damage to the truck that he hit?
$937.02.
So after he drove your car, backed into the truck, which he didn't pay for, you let him drive the car again.
Yes, I did.
Why?
Well, because at the time he still said, well, you know, he said it was his fault, and he said since it was his fault, he would pay for it. And
but according to this complaint, he left the scene of the accident.
Yes, I know.
Is that right?
Yes.
When you hit the truck, you took off.
Yes.
Why?
Because I didn't want a ticket.
What kind of work were you doing?
What kind of work was I doing? Just working.
Listen, this isn't 20 questions and I got a secret. When I ask you a question, don't give me a ridiculous
I was
answer.
working at a
Working. I said,
fast
what
food
kind of work
restaurant.
were you doing?
A fast food restaurant.
Okay. So they tracked you down, I gather. Somebody got the license plate number and they tracked you down.
Yes.
Did they notify your father?
No.
Just you?
Yes.
So you let him drive the car again because according to these papers, he had to go return a video or something?
No, after he had gotten in the accident, when he hit the truck, he was going to Batavia, where we're from, to get money from a friend.
And tell me what happened.
He went around a curve too fast and ran into another truck. I have the accident report here.
Well, would you hand it up to Bird, please? So you went into another truck, Mr. Hall,
Yes.
and you totaled the car this time.
Yes.
You're not a very good driver.
The roads are bad.
The roads are bad.
Yeah. It was snowing.
So this car had to be sold, and according to your papers, it was sold for practically no money because it was totaled.
Right. My dad sold it for $400.
Is that right, sir?
Yes. After Andre
Step up here.
after Andre had the accident, he signed the car over into my name, and I paid the towing bill and the storage fee for
What do you
it.
mean he signed it over into your name? It was in his name?
Yes, they had.
What was the car doing in his name?
After he got in the first accident, my insurance is higher than his, and he had just got his, and I had to put the down payment on the insurance in order for the police to release the car because it was involved in an accident. So I had to sign the car in his name and put the insurance in his name because I couldn't afford it in my name because mine was higher than his.
Yours was higher than his, and he had already been in an accident?
He had just gotten his license like a month before that.
Don't you feel foolish?
Yes.
So I paid the towing and the storage bill on the car and sold it to whoever I could get the highest from. As of last week, I have 3 figures that the car was valued at $4,400 for the average.
Yeah, but she gave the car to him.
See, I had the money to put the insurance on the car. But after he had gotten in the car accident, his was cheaper than mine, so we put in his name, but it was only supposed to be temporary. So, and then we were going to sign it back over to me just a couple months later, just because the down payment mine was higher than his.
Is that right, sir?
No, she had no license. And that's why she signed the car over to my name.
She had no driver's license?
No, her license was suspended.
Was it?
Yes.
For what?
Because I had gotten, just from tickets, I had gotten tickets that I didn't pay.
Another part of this equation is that Andre hasn't worked since I've known him for more than a week straight at any time. Jackie was working as a certified nurse's assistant, and in order to get to these locations, which were not on a bus route, she needed transportation.
And going to college.
And college.
I think that your first course in college should be mate picking 101.
That's probably true.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You disconnected the phone and handed her the receiver.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
She threw the phone back at me and chipped my teeth. And then I punched her in the mouth.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Former cheerleader Jacqueline O'Jean claims her ex-boyfriend, Andre Hall, crashed her car and assaulted her, breaking her cheekbone. He says he hit her in self-defense.
Now, I read in this complaint that there came a time when you finally got disgusted with him and you moved out.
Yes.
And then you say he assaulted you. I want you to tell me about that, because that's the greatest part of your claim.
We were arguing one night over something. It was stupid. We were arguing, and I said I wanted to wait till the morning to discuss it, and we just kept arguing, and one thing led to another, and he hit me.
Where did he hit you?
On my cheek.
And he broke your jaw?
My cheekbone.
Your cheekbone.
That's not how it happened.
Well, let me hear how it happened. Try to do it without smiling, sir.
Well, what happened was my friend from Batavia came down from Batavia. He was visiting me and Jackie. And when we came down, he met two girls. And we picked the two girls up, and we went to a party. We came back from the party and went to her house. And Jackie...
Oh, just a second. I have to understand this. Your friend came down, you went to a party, you met two girls.
Yes.
Your friend, a male friend?
Male friend.
So your male friend and the two girls went over to Jackie's house?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. Go ahead.
And she was intoxicated, and she was getting upset over everything, stupid things she was getting mad over.
Well,
and,
you walk into the house, you knock at the door,
no,
you
she
ring
was
the
with
bell.
us when we picked the two girls up.
Oh, she was?
Yes.
Where did you pick them up?
We picked them up on at the dorms.
I mean, did you know these girls before?
No.
You just went into the dorms, hanging around?
No, they're outside.
And you just picked them up?
Yep.
And where did you go after you picked them up?
We tried to find a party, but we couldn't find the party. So we went back to her place and drank some more. And she got drunk and started tripping over, like, everything. And the girls had left, and Joe had left. Joe took the girls back home.
So your friend took the girls back home. It was just the two of you in the house?
Yes. And then, like, 10 minutes later, Joe had called and said the other girl wanted to talk to me.
One of the girls wanted to talk to you?
Yeah. I was on the telephone talking to her, and Jackie came out the room, and she was like, "Who's on the telephone?" I was like, "Nobody." She's like, "Give me the phone." I said, "Okay." I took the phone cord out of the phone, gave her the telephone receiver.
Just a minute. She said, "Who are you talking to?" You said, "Nobody." That you were just standing there with the phone in your ear, right?
Yeah.
So she said, "Let me see."
Yeah.
And you disconnected the phone and handed her the receiver?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was talking to a dead phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what happened?
She threw the phone back at me and chipped my teeth.
Yeah.
And then I punched her in the mouth.
Mm-hmm. Your Honor, that's not how it happened. What happened?
Do you have any bills, sir?
I didn't bring it with me.
This wasn't a surprise that you were coming here today, right?
Yeah.
It was a surprise?
No.
No. Now you tell me how it happened.
What happened was we were all out. My cousin had invited us to go to a party, and his friend from Batavia, Joe, came up, and we had gone to the store, and we were coming back from the store, and you know he doesn't have a girlfriend, so he stopped and he was talking to some girls.
Joe doesn't have a girlfriend.
Right.
You, on the other hand, had Prince Charming over here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And Joe went back and picked the girls up, and we were all looking for the party that my cousin told me about, but we couldn't find it. So we went back to my apartment, and they left. And then we had just started arguing because we argued all the time because I just feel that everything that I ever had, Andre had started to take from me, you know, my car, everything I had worth of money he had taken. We used to argue all the time, and we were just arguing. And
Why didn't you just dump him?
I probably should have. I don't know, because yeah.
I mean, according to your father, you work?
Yes.
As what?
As a cashier and as a hostess, but I'm going to college full-time also.
In what school?
Erie Community College.
What do you want to be?
I wanted to be an accountant.
Keep having boyfriends like this, you're going to have to be an accountant.
Yeah.
Now, according to your papers, your medical bills were well over $5,000, but most of them were covered by insurance.
Yes.
Tell me about what happened to your mouth when he punched you.
At first, when I went to the emergency room, the ambulance took me there. They thought I had broken my jaw, and they thought they were going to have to wire my jaw shut. But after x-rays, I just had to have surgery to pop the bone back out. And I just couldn't talk for like 3 weeks. Couldn't open my mouth.
That was some hit, sir.
Yes, it was.
Why did you smile?
I didn't smile. You smiled at me.
I smiled at you?
Yeah.
Hardly.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You look like a pretty strong guy. That must have been some wallop you gave her to fracture her cheekbone.
I didn't mean it. I'm saying, if somebody hit you in the mouth with a telephone, you're going to swing back. And I swung back.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Jacqueline O'Jean wants her medical bills and car damages paid by her former boyfriend, Andre Hall.
Do you still see him?
No. I see him around town, like on the buses and stuff. I don't invite him over to my house or anything.
Yes, he does.
No, I don't. He has not been over to my house since it happened.
Yes, I have.
When?
I told him he could come get...
When?
Last time I was over her house was about a month ago.
A month ago?
Yeah.
What were you doing over there?
Talking.
What else?
Nothing.
Did you spend the night?
No, never.
You just went over there to talk?
Yeah. I used to come over, I used to work 11 to 7 down the street from our house, and I went over there a few times in the morning after work.
He calls me up and asks what he would do if he came over, and I said I wouldn't open the door. And he doesn't believe that, but he says he's come over when I haven't been there. But
How long were you out of work because of this fractured cheekbone?
2 weeks.
How much do you earn a week?
I had just started a new job because I just moved in the apartment, so I was only making $150 a week, about.
Did you report this incident to the police?
The police came and I didn't press charges on him.
Why?
I didn't want him to go to jail.
Why?
I know it was wrong, but I don't want to see him spend like a long time in jail or anything. I want him to go on with his life.
A couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks.
You look like a pretty strong guy. That must have been some wallop you gave her to fracture her cheekbone.
I didn't mean it. I'm saying, if somebody hit you in the mouth with a telephone, you're going to swing back. And I swung back. I didn't mean to break her jaw. You know, I feel bad about that, but I'm saying, if you're man enough to hit somebody, you're man enough to hit back.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
Did you go
hit
to
him
the
with
doctor?
phone until after.
I went to the dentist, yes.
Show me.
Right here.
Show me the bills.
Oh, I didn't bring them.
You're supposed to bring things, you
Well,
know,
I
like you're
forgot.
supposed to pay for the truck damage. You're not supposed to leave the scene of an accident. Listen, you have other children?
Yes.
How many other children do you have?
I have one son.
How old?
He's 16.
Do you ever have any talks with your daughter?
Oh, very often. I feel Jackie has come a long way since this incident and even the incidents before that. If I didn't feel that, I wouldn't have come all the way across the country with her to be here. I feel she's making big strides. She's working towards supporting herself and getting through college, and it's...
She looks like a nice young lady who is irresponsible. She's irresponsible. I know that because she had tickets that she didn't pay, so her driver's license was suspended. Did you know that?
Yes.
I've worked and paid off all my fines so
I know,
far.
but you didn't pay them as you were getting them. That's part of a responsibility of having a driver's license and driving a car. You get a ticket. The first thing you do is you go home, you write out a check, and you pay it.
That's true.
Jackie's been raised realizing that there's a reasonable consequence to every action. And these have built up on her, and she's realized it now, and I feel she's straightening her life around well. However, I don't think it's fair that this guy has taken away everything that she's had and worked towards.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. He's a good lesson.
Just to give you a little idea about the honesty of whatever his statements are, he didn't tell you that after he had punched her, he had called my house, and my wife answered, and he told her that Jackie had been jumped on the street. He didn't tell us the real story. So when we got to the hospital, which we had to drive an hour at 3 o'clock in the morning to get there to find out what was really going on, Jackie told me the real story. And so I called the police, and however, since she wouldn't press charges, they had to release him. However, they did search him, and they didn't find her keys to her apartment, her book bag, or her bus pass, or her gold necklace.
That he stole while I was in the hospital.
No, I didn't. I don't like gold. Why would I steal a gold necklace? I don't like gold.
He stole my book bag and my keys while I was in the hospital, and the next day I had to go to school. I couldn't talk. I had no book bag, no keys to my apartment. My dad had to pay $50 to get the locks changed, and then he brought the keys back 2 days later.
Let me tell you this. Your daughter has very bad judgment. I hope she recognizes that. But I'm going to tell you there's something back here that suggests to me that she still communicates with him. She may not tell you that, but I get these little hairs that's standing up in the back of my neck that suggest to me that they are not totally estranged. Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Where are you working now, Mr. Hall?
I work at the Dollar Tree.
How many hours a day do you work?
Like 12.
And how many days a week?
4.
Good. And you're living at home with your mother?
Yeah.
Good. So you got all that money, right?
I suppose.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That'll cover you $937, a little bit of lost wages, a little bit of pain and suffering, and start to use your judgment. Your medical bills were covered, right, by your insurance?
Yes.
Good. He's not a winner. Do you understand?
Yes.
He doesn't take responsibility for what he does. He was in an accident. He fled the accident. Looked around. Nobody saw me. I'm leaving. He wrecked your car. Took no responsibility for that either. And then, to add insult to injury, he used his fist, his hand, to put on your body hard enough to break a bone. All that would suggest to a normal person that this is somebody that you want to distance yourself from forever.
I know that.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I feel bad that I hit her, but she hit me first. And the man that hit somebody, man that hit back.
You know, I think if he wants to take responsibility to drive a car and he crashes it, he should take the responsibility to pay it.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please.
Judge, case number 421 on the calendar in the matter of Landolfi versus McMillan Barden. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Landolfi, I've been in this business for a very long time, and I've read a lot of complaints. I read your complaint. I read your revised complaint. I still, for the life of me, don't understand what you're suing for, except that I do understand that for a short time, you entered into a lease agreement with the defendants.
Correct.
And that was because you were going to have some medical treatment.
Yes, sir. Ma'am, excuse me.
Where do you live normally?
I was living in Vallejo at the time and attending the Martinez Outpatient Veterans Clinic. And because of the problem couldn't be resolved by their doctors, they suggested a specialist, not a veterans doctor, in Palm Springs, an internist. So I came down to see him.
And you needed a place to stay for a couple of
Correct.
months. You found an apartment in their facility, in their
First
complex.
30 days I stayed in a motel. It was too expensive. Then I found the Brentwood.
Now tell me about your lawsuit. Tell me why you think that they owe you $4,700 or $4,800.
First of all, the verbal agreement, of which I have a receipt for, so it's also in writing, was $600 a month from September 7th to October 7th to November 7th, 60 days. And I have a receipt dated that day, and I'll show you. I have a whole file of exhibits for you, Your Honor, if you wish to see them. Let me look at mine, though, so I can give you your copies right now if you wish to look at them.
You rented an apartment, according to you, for $600 a month from September 7th until October 7th.
Well,
Stop, don't rustle papers.
Excuse me.
Don't rustle papers.
November 7th, Your Honor.
Well, you left before October, correct?
I left on the 29th of September to go to Vallejo, flew back to pick up my car, my clothes, and to make my final visit to Martinez Hospital.
How long did you live in their apartment?
From September 7th through the 29th.
Of September?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much rent did you pay altogether?
$1,200.
You paid $1,200.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get any back?
I got $400 back.
When did you get the $400 back?
I told her in writing on September 27th, here is the balance of $500, which brings the apartment rental to November 7th, and they only take cash, no checks, no credit cards. And I put 3 items. Please ask the maid to clean up. She hasn't cleaned anything.
Did I ask you a question? I
Yes,
said, when
ma'am.
did you get the $400 back?
I got the $400 back after that note, and I got the $400 back on 9/29.
So, you asked for a refund, and you got a partial refund.
Correct.
So you asked for how much, sir?
The rent from September 7th to October 7th is $600. They gave me $400 back. They still owed me $200 for the month of October. I paid October all in advance. I paid $700 for the month of October, Your Honor, and I have documentation to prove that.
Please. You said you paid him $1,200 altogether. You got $400 back, which means from your hand to their hand ultimately was $800. Correct?
Correct.
All right. And you lived there for a month, and you said your rental
I lived
agreement...
there. No, Your Honor, I did not live there for a month. I lived there from September 7th to September 29th when I went home to go to the hospital and get the rest of my clothes.
Okay. I am assuming, sir, that for the purposes of argument, that's the month of September. So that's $600.
For 3 weeks.
Okay. Which means $200 owing. So you want to tell me why they owe you $5,000?
Okay. They still owed me $100 for my $700 October payment. They owe me $145.53 because when I came back from the emergency treatment at the hospital on October 2nd, I walk into my apartment and there's a gray-haired gentleman with a Pennsylvania license plate on a new Cadillac sitting on my sofa, and both of us say simultaneously, "Who are you?" I said, "This is my apartment. I just rented this apartment." I said, "You can't. I have a lease till October 7th. It's now the 2nd. So I go see Miss Barden. She said, "Well, you left." I said, "I didn't leave. Where's my clothes? Where's everything?" "What clothes?" Wait a minute. I flew back to Vallejo to pick up my car and go to the hospital. I didn't carry it. I had 3 left shoes in me because I still can't. I haven't worn shoes in on my right foot in 6 months now, 6.5 months. Where's my jacket? Where's my slacks? Where's my 3 pair of left shoes, my underwear, bathing suit, etc., etc.? Nothing was there. I said, "Where's the rest of my money?" She said, "Well, you didn't give me the key back." I said, "I forgot the key. They were on top of the TV. And you stole the telephone." I said, "What are you talking about? You're not getting your money." So I claim 7 days rent at $20.79 a day comes to $145.53. The total now, with the 100 she still didn't give me, was $245.53. Using her exhibit, and I think Your Honor should look at this, it's her handwriting.
Just would you get to the thousands? So far I'm hearing hundreds, sir.
Okay.
Get to the thousands.
You have to forgive me, Your Honor. I got a touch of the flu. My brain is not as fast as it normally is. This lady claimed she was a nurse. The stress, harassment, this stuff, that stuff that she put me through continually came to my house after I filed the first small claims case, which I filed on November 18th, and she never accepted it. But she came speeding into my driveway with a car, nearly knocked the mobile home down that I was now renting, came at me, threw a punch. I'm proud to be a Marine lieutenant. I ducked, it hit my shoulder. She sped away at 30 miles an hour, and it's a 10-mile-an-hour park because a lot of seniors there walk around with walkers. So I call the police to file assault charges. I work with the DARE program with the police department, so I know all the cops. I tell them what's going on. They come back and they say, "Don, she says you're throwing eggs and confetti and stuff all over her car." I said, "Don't be silly. Here's the small claims case. I just filed it 3-4 days ago. Stay away from her. She's crazy. If you want, get a restraining order." I said, "Forget it, Pete. I'll tell her to stay away from me." He said, "We already told her don't cross the street." And that was the assault aspect. So I'm now charging $3,845, punitive due to the dire medical condition I was in, and she knew it. Because she saw me every day sitting at the pool, my feet raised, because the doctor said, "You got to get the blood going the other way." And she's a nurse, et cetera, which I'd love to know.
I didn't understand the complaint when you wrote it, and I still don't understand it.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I told him, "You are the pest from Budapest." He says, "What?" He probably believed I said you are the best.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 66-year-old Don Landolfi claims he has a refund coming from landlord Rod McMillan, and he was assaulted by apartment manager Greta Barden.
What I don't understand is, you were in the apartment for, assuming for the purposes of argument, for the month of September,
3
at a
weeks,
rent
Your Honor.
according to you of $600 a month. You understood that you were not getting prorated rent for the 7 days. You were paying $600 for the month of September. You paid, according to you, $1,200, which would have brought you up from September, when you moved in, until November 1st.
7th.
Or November 7th. But something happened. I'll let them have their chance to explain to me what their version of the events was. Something happened, and when you came back from your trip, you found somebody else in the apartment. You had already, prior to that time, sir, asked for your money back, and you were already given $400 back before you took this plane ride home. Is that right?
Semi-right.
No, I'm always right. Before you took the plane ride home, they gave you back $400. That's what you just told me. Now, what did they give you the $400 back for?
Because I had paid the whole month of October 7th to November 7th in advance. $700 I had paid.
So, why did you ask them back for the rent?
Because they wouldn't fix the electric plug, the TV didn't work. It said, I told her I would get out on October 7th, 1 month rental, yet I paid you for 2 months. So I wanted my $700
okay,
back.
now I see. So, you left on September 29th, and you had already received back the $400.
For October.
For October, with the understanding that you were going to vacate the apartment by October 7th.
Correct.
Oh, now it's coming clear. I knew eventually we'd get to it. So when you came back on October 2nd, really just for the purposes of picking up your clothes or your things.
And living there for 5 more days.
And living there for 5 more days, you found somebody in there.
Correct, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when you left to go home on the 29th of September, who did you speak to and tell that you were going to be back on the 2nd of October?
The manager of the complex, Greta Barden.
Okay, Ms. Barden, you are the manager of this complex.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'm getting to you. Did he tell you that he was coming back when he left on September 29th?
He told me he was leaving, and that was it. That he was tired with the place. He demanded the money. I told him I will keep, because since he did not paint, then he had to pay for the electric bill, which was $106 plus. And then I told him I will return the other $100 when he returned the apartment key. I saw him moved out and he did not give me the key. But then when I went to look, and it seemed like he was gone, I found this in the door that it said, my place until October 10th, stay out note. Then I called the police. I asked Mr. Robert Hernandez from the SWAT team in Palm Springs came over. I said, sir, this gentleman has moved out and left this note there. What do I do? So he knocked, and there was no response. Then I opened with the master key. He told me to stay out, not to walk in. He walked into the place, calling his name several times, loud, all around the place.
All right.
He came out and he told me I could go in then.
Okay. He was paid through October 7th.
Right.
And you moved somebody in there on October 1st.
I believe so.
Okay. So you owe him for a week.
Right. Excuse me, but the police told me since the place was vacant, because he checked with me the closet and everywhere, since the place was vacant, that apparently his clothes were warm.
I don't care what the police told you. You know, if they wanted to be lawyers, they would have gone to law school instead of police school. What I'm telling you is you owe him a week.
Right.
Because you charged the other man for a whole month.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you
$1,000 a month.
Shh. So you owe him for a week.
Yes.
Clarification. Note here, signed by him, says, I'm leaving 7 days early, therefore my attorney as you, etc.
Let me see.
And our problem, he wanted to be reduced.
All right, just a second. Let me see this.
Well, here's our answer to that. This is the answer.
Exhibit 12, Your Honor. My exhibit.
Mr. Linforti, he said, I am leaving 7 days early. Therefore, per my attorney, as you caused this situation, you owe me the $100 plus 7 days at $20.59, or $145.53. Total $245.33. Okay? Now, so
excuse me, there's one more sentence there, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Due to my medical condition, no stress aggravation is due to me. At noon today, please, they never gave me the money. That makes October 7th the official departure date for me. They never gave me the money.
Whatever. They can't keep
What do you
this
mean,
money
whatever?
anyway.
I paid for the month of September, Your Honor.
You can't rent a place twice.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you.
They owe you $245.33.
Excuse me, Your Honor,
Ma'am.
53 cents.
Excuse me?
If you say 33 cents,
I say 53, 145.53. Oh, okay, excuse me.
Your Honor?
Yeah, excuse me. Say I'm wrong.
I am 100% wrong.
Good.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I says, when are you going to stop this? So stupid guy, and he came at me with this part of his arm. He pushed me in this part, and I went backwards.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Don Landolfi says his former landlord, Rod McMillan, and apartment manager, Greta Barton, owe him a refund on his place.
Listen to me. That's what you owe him. You can't rent a place twice. That's unfair. Now, let's get to this assault nonsense.
Let's get to my clothes first. That's $700 worth of clothes, Your Honor.
Just a minute. Was there anything in the apartment?
No, ma'am. The police is a witness. He walked in there first, and I walked the second time with him.
I'd like to see the
There
police
was nothing,
report.
and it was the telephone gone, and it was a coffee maker gone, were all the lights on, the air conditioner in full blast. There were the two TV sets on, and
so all the electrical equipment was on.
Was on. Plus, he took everything from the apartment, plus the telephone.
Let's get to the assault, please. Did you go to his house after you were served with a small claims summons?
I did not. I was not served ever with any small claims court, Your Honor.
But did you go to his house?
He kept putting eggs and vanilla ice cream and soap in my windshield. I called the police.
Just a minute. Did you see him do that?
I did not see him. I slept in my car several times trying to catch him. For some reason, he was not there the days. One time when I came and I found the egg in my car, since he was living across the street, I saw him drive away after he saw me get to my car.
So you thought it was him?
I believe it was him. There was no other reason for anyone else to be.
Okay.
Then,
so you thought it was him?
Yes.
So then what did you do?
Then since I had the egg, and I was sick and tired of 6-7 times doing this, and the police, all they did was a frequent patrol. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll stop it because I was ignoring it. So I thought I'll go over, and I knocked at his window in his trailer park. I knew it was his car because it says Marine. So he came out, and I says, when are you going to stop this? So stupid guy, I said, I'm sick and tired. So he said, get out of here, get out of here. I'm going to sue you. And he came at me. How could I attack him when he's older than me and everything? And a Marine, I wasn't going to about. I was too scared of his size and his mental condition. So with this part of his arm, he pushed me in this part, and I went backwards until I was able to turn around and hold myself against the trailer, or I would have fallen to the ground. I made a big deal out of it because I was scared. So I wanted the neighbors to be aware that my presence, so he would not do anything drastic to me. He kept screaming at me. He said he was going to sue me and everything. So I went in my car. I drove to the manager of the place. I showed him my car, and I explained to him that this was done by Mr. Landolfi, and if ever was done by anybody in the parking place, to please come and look for me, because I was a witness to what harassment he's been giving, sexual harassment and all kind of harassment, and I wanted them to be a witness. I would be happy to help him. So I went back to my apartment, and I called the police. They came, they talked to me. Then he went over to him and told him to stay out of my place. not to even call me because he was calling me several times. He was coming over my place, knocking at the door, demanding the money. I was one time at the lounge, and he came over me. I was not aware he walked into the place, and he called me a bitch and insulted me, and he walked away because I told him there was no money coming to him. I had to call the locksmith. I had to.
Okay. Okay. Does he still, what?
There is a locked gate to that property. You can't get in unless you have a key to the lock. So
It was
everything
unlocked
she told
during the day.
May I finish, please? I can't use the word perjury. That's your decision. This lady is lying to Your Honor.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I find after hearing this case, you own the property, sir?
I'm the president of the association.
And you're the manager?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a lie also. She's not the manager anymore.
I'm a temporary manager.
She was manager at that time.
Are you feeling better, sir?
A little bit. Thank you, Your
Good.
Honor.
I'm going to help you feel a little bit better, Mr. Landorfi. But not a lot better, sir. Not $5,000 better. They owe you $245.33, period. And I suggest that if you still live next door to each other or across the way, you stay as far away from each other as is possible. This case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
At one time, he told me that he would like to move into my apartment to save on the rent. At that time, I told him he can very nicely go and sleep at the bottom of the pool.
I came out and she went like this. I'm taught the duck, hit me here, and then I pushed her. You act like a man, you're gonna get treated like a man. But I didn't hit her. If I hit her, she wouldn't be here right now.
I told him, you are the best from Budapest. He said, what? He probably believed I said you are the best. But I repeated it more clearly that you are the best from Budapest. In that moment, he jumped out of the pool and he says, that's it, I'm moving out of here.
Her story is made up.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise.
Judge, number 151 on the calendar in the matter of Fair versus Gonzalez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Fair, the defendant is your former landlord.
Yes.
And you're suing him for several things. First, for wrongful eviction and the cost of your relocating to a new apartment. Second, you are suing him for damage that he allegedly did to your furniture. And what's the third thing you're suing him for?
Harassment.
Oh, harassment. Okay. When did you move into his apartment and how did you find this apartment?
I found an apartment through one of my coworkers that I work with. They went to church together. He told me one of the ministers at his church had an apartment available. The neighborhood I was living in was a very bad neighborhood. So I went and met John, and he said I could move in. I paid him. I moved in. We became friends. After we became friends, he started dropping by all the time, coming by when I have company, coming unannounced, letting people in my house when I'm not at home.
How do you know that?
Because when I got home, one of the witnesses was in my home, and he admitted he let him in.
We'll get to that in a minute. Go ahead.
And he soaked my couch with a water hose that was stored in his garage.
Just a second. How did he soak your couch with a water hose?
It was in his garage.
What was it doing in his garage?
I stored it there.
What was that part of your rental agreement?
No, I asked him, I had received another couch, and I asked him could I put it in his garage, and he said yes. He had the only key to the garage. He watched the people put it in the garage, locked the garage up. One particular night, it was a confrontation between my sister and I one night. He banged on the wall. He turned around, then he came at 1 o'clock in the morning, knocked on the door. My daughter's father was visiting, asked him, could he please come back at a reasonable hour? He got very indignant, said, no, I demand for her to come outside right now. Get your so-and-so hand off of my door, referring to my door. He told him, no, you would have to talk to her in the morning. The next day, he called me on the phone. He left a message, said I had to make other arrangements. If I did not come and speak to him, that I was going to have problems out of him, that I was going to have a problem. Then he gave me a 3-day notice when I didn't owe him any rent. And since then, it's been a nightmare.
Hold this on a second. You went on and gave me a whole long story. I asked you a question. How do you know he soaked your couch?
I seen him.
You saw him?
Yes.
It's fair. Tell me how you saw him damage your furniture.
Well, he asked one of the witnesses out there. He says, I want
Don't tell me what he asked the witness.
He went.
Tell me what you saw.
I seen him walk to the back of the house with a couple of his friends with the water hose. I walked around the other side, and he squirted it with the water hose.
Squirted what?
The couch, the whole living room set, and my table.
You saw that?
Yes, I did.
Really?
Yes, I did.
The reason I ask you, really, if that really happened, your eyes are fluttering. That's not a good sign, Miss Fair. The reason I ask you that is because usually people, when they prepare papers for court, put in the most important things, and nowhere in your papers that you prepared for me, stop looking through your documents when I'm talking to you, nowhere in your papers that you prepared did you say you observed him soaking your furniture. Nowhere.
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have a police report where I observed seeing him do this.
Yeah, let me see it.
I have a police report for the annoying phone calls asking me to get out.
Just a second. What was the date that you say you observed this?
6:30, June 30th.
And that was before or after this incident with your ex-husband?
This was after.
As a matter of fact, it was 2 weeks after, 2.5 weeks after.
Right. It was not my ex-husband, it's my daughter's father.
I see. When did you serve her with an eviction notice, sir?
I served her with a 3-day notice to ask her ex, who threatened me, to leave the premises. That was the 13th.
What date?
That was the 13th.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, sir, you want to tell me about this furniture?
Your Honor, she moved in and she had furniture. I helped her move in. This furniture was not conditioned well. It was already destroyed. Something happened in her family where she got some other furniture. Someone was going somewhere for 2 or 3 years. I believe it was jail.
Whatever.
And I allowed her to move the furniture in my garage on a temporary basis. I told her I have gas equipment back there. You cannot keep it back there more than a month. She said, no problem. I'll get it stored. The gentleman that moved it in, he moved it in. I allowed him. But what I found very odd is that he left all the pillows on the outside. I came and told her the pillows were on the outside, but the sofa and the couch itself were on the inside. So the pillows were accumulating moisture and just daily. When this event occurred and she refused to leave, I told her, I said, hey, I got to get the garage clear. I got to get some stuff in there. I asked her to move it. The gentleman that had moved it in there, I asked him to move it. He said he would do it within an hour. I left the garage wide open for an hour. He didn't. I took her couches out with friends and put it right where her pillows are in my backyard. And they're there right now. I haven't touched them.
I want to tell you something. That sounds pretty disgusting that all that stuff is in your backyard. What kind of an apartment unit is this?
It's a 2-unit, man. It's just in the backyard. I have it's a pretty spacious backyard.
So the couch pillows sat outside in the backyard?
The whole time.
How long?
Maybe 2 months.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You blew him off.
No, I did
Oh,
not.
sure you did. You blew him off, madam. You said to him, I'm cooking for the church. I can't talk to you now.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Fair wants her former landlord to pay for wrongfully evicting her and ruining her possessions with a garden hose.
Now I'd like you to tell me, Miss Fair, I've already heard the story about the furniture.
I have pictures, ma'am, to show you and the receipt for
Just
the
a
couch.
second. You had I believe that the pillows for that couch were outside in the backyard
all the time.
No, they were not. And
I believe him. I believe him. He does. Listen, he's under no obligation to store your furniture. He told you that he wanted to have it out. Hey, I'm speaking. Stop talking. He's under no obligation. He rented you an apartment. He did you a favor by letting you stay, letting you put your furniture in his garage. You were not paying for the garage space. You were not paying for storage. Clearly, in the beginning or the middle of the month of June, there was some sort of disagreement between the two of you, which I'm going to get to in a moment, having to do with your daughter's father. Clearly, that was a problem. It's a problem that I read about in the papers, and it's a problem that I heard just now. So then he said, get your stuff out of the garage. He can tell that to you in an hour, in a minute, in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes. He gratuitously let you use it.
But he didn't say it directly to me. He told the gentleman, he says, when is she going to get her couch out? He says, well, when I move her, which I was planning on moving, she will get it out. He stood there with his friends laughing, about 5 or 6 of his friends, went and took the couch out. Later on, he came back, and I went to the police.
I heard about the couch. I'm moving on to something else.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
I see the letters that you sent him. The letters that you sent to him clearly suggest to me that you were looking for him to give you money. That's what they say. You talk about the California Rent Board, for him to tell you why you want him to move, and to discuss relocation fees. So clearly these letters of June 28th suggest to me that you wanted him to give you money to move. So what I would like you to do now is to tell me what was the nature of what you call harassment.
Okay, I have a phone harassment letter here from where he kept calling me, asking to move. We had been friends.
Just a second.
Okay.
Don't talk fast.
Okay.
Phone harassment.
Yes.
What kind of phone harassment?
Telling me that he was going to throw me and my daughter out if we didn't get out because he was upset. He was friends with my daughter's father up until my father threatened his male ego or something and told him, please, you can talk to her in the morning. 1 o'clock in the morning, it's not appropriate time to come to the house. I have documentation where he came to my house at 10:30 at night, 3 days before rent was due, asking for the money, telling me, well, if you don't have the money, then I can demand this from you. And if you don't have this, I'm going to throw you out and I'll be sure to get you out. He kept calling on the phone from 6 to 7 times from the 13th to the 17th, telling me he wanted me out. It was a nightmare for me to have to be harassed. The kids go to dump the trash. My child had to be harassed. My niece had to be harassed.
Just a second. Hold on a second. Hold on. He told you that he wanted you to move on the 13th. That's what you're... Just a second.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yes.
He told you he wanted you to move on the 13th. Now, I would like you to tell me, Mr. Gonzalez, March, April... She moved in March.
Yes.
March, April, May, any problems?
She was always late, but I didn't care because
always
of her
late with her rent.
She was always late, but her situation, because of her daughter, she was in a place where she witnessed a crime that scared her. I understand, I have a child myself, but to say, I'm sorry.
In March, in April, and May, other than being late in her rent, was she a reasonable tenant?
Yes, she was.
What happened, and you had no problem with her?
No.
Other than the late rent?
Other than the late fee.
What happened, sir, in June?
In June, her daughter's father had came down before I met him. He seemed to be a pretty nice guy. On June the 12th was the altercation when her daughter's father and her, the child himself, got into a physical fight. Things started sounding breaking. My daughter is six years old. I didn't want her to see this. I went over, I calmed things down, I asked him to stop. It seemed to be okay, but my daughter goes to school too, Your Honor, and I have to take her 23 miles just to get to one school, so we have to get up quite early. At 2 in the morning, she was on the phone yelling. I mean, she was
Who's
cursing.
she?
Miss Fair. She was cursing so loud. It was through the... I just banged on the wall to say, please stop. I didn't even go over there. It didn't stop. After it continued for about 2 to 3 minutes, I went over there. I told my daughter to stay here. I asked, could I speak to Stephanie? She wouldn't even come to the door. The ex-husband or whoever, he told me if I rang the bell again, he would kick my, this and that. And I didn't want to become volatile. I rang the bell and asked, could I speak to Stephanie again? He came out and greeted me face to face. Not that I can't defend myself, Your Honor. I just chose not to. I left the porch. I called her and I asked her, I said, I'm going to need to speak to you tomorrow. I didn't even tell her she had to go. All I did was wanted to speak to her about rectifying this situation, this nuisance. I have a right to live in my own property and feel safe myself. And I was doing her, I can't believe I'm here, Your Honor. I was doing her a favor. I didn't charge her first or last rent. I didn't charge her a deposit. I lowered the rent. I bent over backwards for her. And for her to do me like this, I'm appalled.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
he has an absolute right to the peaceful enjoyment of his property and to tell you to leave.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Fair wants her former landlord to pay for wrongfully evicting her and ruining her possessions with a garden hose.
So when you called and said, I have to speak to you tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
She laughed at me and hung the phone up. I tried to contact her. She would walk by. The units are so close that I would try to walk and say, can I talk to you for a minute? Nothing to say to you. She would put her, you know, like this. You know, the thing, like that. Nothing to say to you. And her children.
Well, let me ask you this question. Miss
That is
Fair,
a lie.
look just a second.
Because when he told me that me and my daughter could stay on the premises, you're telling a lie, John, because he says, okay, I'm going to tell you this. You better get over here and talk to me right now. If not, you're going to have problems out of me. When he says, if you don't talk to me right now. So when I said, look, John, I'm cooking dinners for the church. I'm selling dinners for the church. I will talk to you when I get home. No, you better come over here immediately.
Miss Fair, you had no problem with him
No.
Shh. If you had no problem with him, there's no basis for this lawsuit. So don't anticipate my question.
Okay.
You had no problem with him in March, April, and May. He didn't tell you to leave. He didn't serve you with an eviction notice. This problem started when your daughter's father came to and stayed with you for a couple of days. Is that correct?
The problem, no. Because I had gotten an argument with my sister. He had never had any problem. Him and my daughter's father were friends. They socialized, they sat and ate dinners and stuff together. Okay, now what I'm saying is
I'm saying is, tell me what happened that he did to you to harass you in March.
In March, he didn't do anything.
Good. Tell me what he did to harass you in April.
Coming over to my house all the time.
That's baloney. Tell me what happened in May.
Nothing happened in May, ma'am.
Right. What happened in June when your daughter's father came to visit and there was noise coming from the apartment. Then it all started, and when he tried to rectify the situation or try to talk to you, you blew him off.
No, I did not.
Oh, sure you did. You blew him off, madam. You said to him, I'm cooking for the church. I can't talk to you now. So he served you with a notice. Then you serve him with this thing. Where is it? Where's this thing? And you say, you want me to move? Pay me money. That's what you said. Not only pay me money, but these were all the things that you said you were going to fix in the apartment that have never gotten fixed, right?
Yes.
Kitchen countertop, bedroom sliding glass, closet door, all these things that you say weren't being fixed. You were, at that point, after you were served with a notice, because he didn't want unruly people living next door to him in his house, then you started setting yourself up to get money from him. That's unreasonable.
I did not set myself up. He knew my situation. For him to harass the children, I have witnesses here that was here for him to let people into my home when I asked him not to let people into my home.
What people?
Before this
Just a
even
second.
occurred.
What people did he let into your
He let
home?
Benita Wade, the witness right here.
Well, this is somebody that you know?
Yes, it is.
Well, how do you know her?
She's my friend.
So what do you mean he let her into your house? Step up here. You?
I'm not Benita.
Who's Benita? Step up here. Did he let you into the house?
Yes.
Tell me how that happened.
I was there waiting for her to get home, and she hadn't arrived yet.
Yes.
And he said, well, I'll let you in.
So good. Nice. Sit down. All right. So now I've heard the couch, I've heard the harassment, and I've heard relocation fees. Now, I'm about ready to hear your side, sir. On what date did she finally move out of the apartment?
She moved out on, it was July the 20th, Your Honor.
Okay, is that correct?
No, I moved out on the 19th, and I have a receipt.
Fine, you moved out on the 19th. Did you pay rent for the month of July?
No, I didn't.
Good, you owe him money. Now, you are also suing for destruction of property. What property, sir? Yes, I am, Your Honor. In the initial agreement there, and I think you have it there were 5 things that I said I was going to fix. Only one thing I didn't fix, and that was the kitchen countertop. I let her move in early. She had voiced... What did she destroy, sir? Stop giving me a whole story. I'm sorry. There's the repair to the rear bedroom door. She had someone I guess she said something's wrong with the door. She had them nail it. The whole frame is broke. All of it's broke. And the kitchen floor
is her refrigerator leaks, and I can't replace the tile. The floor is warped, and I got the best estimate I could get. They were doing me a favor by doing this. I went out and did this for her to get. I'm not trying to get any money from her that she doesn't owe me. I just want to be compensated.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to teach you a very good lesson, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Good lesson is landlord, if they're smart, they get a month's rent and a month's security. That's what the security is for. Security is for this kind of damage. Because I know if I'm going to ask her, she's going to say she didn't cause any of that damage. Is that right, Mrs. Fick?
I have pictures. Yes, ma'am. I did not cause any damages.
All right.
That
She's going to say she didn't cause any damage. Listen to me, Mr. Gonzalez.
I have pictures of.
I'm not interested in your pictures. She's going to say she didn't cause the damage. You say she did cause the damage. The only thing I know for sure is that she owes you for rent. She owes you $435. That's on your countersuit. Your lawsuit, on the other hand, Miss Fair, is, in my judgment, bogus. Totally and completely bogus. A, I find no basis for the harassment. He came home, saw this young lady who he clearly knew was part of your either friends or family circle, standing outside, and he said, I'll let her, well, you want to wait? Wait inside. Now you're complaining about that, the fact that he was being a nice guy. You had no trouble with him, and he had no trouble with you. March, April, and May. Only when your former boyfriend, the father of your daughter, was there, and there was an altercation, was there a problem. And since he couldn't get any satisfaction from you, he has an absolute right to the peaceful enjoyment of his property and to tell you to leave. He also has no obligation to take care of your stored property after he's told you to leave. And I do believe that the pillows that he said were outside on the lawn were outside in his backyard. The couch may have been inside, but the pillows were outside, tossed away like so much garbage. So I think that if there was any damage caused to your furniture, you did it. So your lawsuit is dismissed, and I'm entering a judgment for the defendant in the amount of $435. That's all.
Parties are excused. Next step out.
No.
I'll be back with you right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Did a lot of things to me that was not right, and he has to pay for that later on down the line.
I think what she's got, it's a blessing in disguise that she didn't get hammered for the rest of the damage. She should be very happy.